3, 2, 1.
Saving the day.
Can't believe it! Look at this!
Hello, I am Bubbles, who is currently standing in for Christo, who is unfortunately locked in a bathroom. I'm joined by some of the most loveliest casters in the community. And today we have some of the best players we've had in a while in this one. We've got quite a stacked lineup. We do want to go through their decks and take a look at what they are all bringing. But first, we want to take a quick look at the brackets. As you can see, we have J King, a veteran of the scene, against newcomer Shimakaze. We have 66 better against our very own Berto Burrito. We have Pancake up against Morphling, again some newcomers to the OCC, and then Noone against Henry. I'm excited for these games. You know, we've got some veterans against veterans, and then we have some new players against veterans, which is quite difficult to go up against. We are going to be going through each of these decks one by one, so stick about, make sure you see what everyone's bringing, what's popular right now, and maybe try and get an edge up on ladder before everyone else gets to with these OCC style decks. We are going to be going to Thanatron first, who's going to be taking us through Berto and Shimakaze's deck lists.
All right.
Any moment.
So let's take a look at Berto's player profile. We see a absolutely ridiculous 80% win rate. Good God, that is insane. Season finish 30th, which just feels like he could have had whatever number he wanted if he would have put in the time with an 80% win rate. Only 190 matches. Favorite card, Bombing Raid, which is very interesting. I don't know why. Just not really ever heard Berto talk about that card. But really, really great season stats here. Let's see what Berto is bringing to the table today. So our first list, and for my money, the most interesting, is a mismatch of a lot of new stuff here. We see a sort of focus on the covert new keyword and some buffs here. Things like the Deuce, which will discount any covert unit by 1, and then Hidden Plans, which can change a covert unit to flip it over to its in battle side, sort of. And then we are bringing some covert units, some really interesting ones. And I think those are highlighted by the Grunman Goose as well, which is a covert fighter. Really interesting to have covert on a backline unit that's going to, you know, function as a true air unit. Grunman Goose draws if the turn that it is revealed, you strike the enemy HQ, which is very cool. We also see the Bezhitsa, one of the new elites, as well as the 97th rifles. So some really cool stuff in this deck, some really cool stall, and really interesting work with the new cards, especially some of the new cards that we haven't seen a lot yet necessarily on ladder, and certainly not in tournaments. This next deck, Japanese deck here, is what's being mostly referred to as self-credit denial, which is kind of the new big boss form of Jagro these days, or at least what I think a lot of people would say is the new real Jagro. So we see some new stuff here as well. We are going to operate this whole deck based on these one roofs. These one roofs are going to give you draw 2, but also they're going to give you 2 credits for every credit you've denied yourself from this game. So we see a lot of cards like Air, Land, and Sea, which is going to allow you to develop any card in your deck, but also get one of those credit slots out. Same thing with Desperate Measures being brought back to the competitive pool. A really great 2 damage to all that's also going to pull back a credit. And just really allows for almost OTK-like turns after the one roofs really start to go off. And then lastly, we have a German Finn Heinz, and again, you know, not lacking for new stuff. This is a Blitz Doctrine deck. If you've played ladder, you are already familiar with a Blitz Doctrine deck. He is going to try to get those Blitz Doctrines out so that the HQ starts buffing every tank he lays, and then those Lotus Fards are going to come in handy and make some really big boards cost almost nothing to operate. Some really cool stuff here from Berto. And then I believe next we have Shimakaze, who played a significant amount of matches, quite more than Berto here. We see a huge 747 matches with a really solid 63.6% win rate. I believe the stat that we got before the show here is that Shimakaze actually only made their account in March. So not only new to the OCC, but new to the entire game, relatively, at least speaking. So, just incredibly impressive to start making it to these kinds of stages already. The Zero, his favorite card. I might have some mixed feelings on the Zero myself, but that's just me personally and what that card has done to me. Let's take a look at what they're bringing today. So the first thing we see from Shimakaze is a Exile Air deck. We've seen this quite a lot. We've seen it on Ladder, and we've seen it in some previous tournaments. So this is a Brit Air that is featuring Poland as a side nation. The hope is to get that PZL out, which is going to give you a 1 discount on all of your Exile units. And then the big card here is Hammer Home. Hammer Home allowing you to duplicate an Exile unit while also giving it +2/+2, and -1 op cost. So very capable of huge swing turns. A turn 4 Hammer Home on a big Exile plane like an MS-406 can really swing that game. Then we move into a German US here. This is another deck that actually I don't believe we see Blitz Doctrine here, which is very interesting, but we do see some staples here like Duress, the new Bomber Mafia card, which if you play it on turn 8 or later, or I'm sorry, 8 credits or later, will do 2 damage to the whole board and allow you to develop a US Bomber. That card has been cracked. We've seen it all over Ladder in all sorts of decks. And this deck is crazy. We're going all the way to Jet Prototype and Bismarck. So probably one of the only people to still bring the Jet deck. And then as we move to the third deck here, we can see Shimakaze really going for an air theme. We have a Soviet Japan air deck. Some really interesting stuff here with the planes and the air superiorities. Things like Parlikopov, which aren't played too much, and then Chaika, where you can throw on this these buffs from Blood Red Sky, or even the Claim the Skies. Really cool decks here from Shimakaze in his first event, really using air.
Awesome, thank you. We have some old decks and some new decks, things like Exile, coming back once again. The terror of Ladder, when you see that 1-drop PZL come down, you just think to yourself, there's nothing I can do against this. And then we've got things like Self-Credit Denial, which is not something we've ever seen before, or something I think any of us in the past expected to be a popular meta choice. When you take me back 6 months ago and say, Bubbles, there's going to be a meta deck and it's all going to be about destroying your own credits, I would have just called you crazy. But now we have to go to Corn, who's going to take us through a couple more decks. I believe you're going to be taking us through Henry and Pancake's decks.
Yep. So let's take a look at their playing cards first. So we got Henry here coming out with a strong Phony War favorite card. I also enjoy Phony War. It allows for a lot of draw, which I'm a fan of. 601 matches on the month, 64% rounded up on the win rate. Strong finish at 13th on Germany. So let's go ahead and look at his decks. So we're coming out of the gates with a Brit US ramp list that almost looks like a singleton. You see some interesting one-offs, such as an AA Barrage, a Naval Power, just as a one-off card, and then you get some more strong British elites, such as the Firefly, the Sexton, the Churchill. I am a fan of the Firefly right now because we're seeing so many tanks. You're certainly going to get value from the Firefly coming down and destroying something. We do have a lot of cards on the USA ally trying to get some more credits so that he can play all of his stuff. And of course, we do see 4 Glamour Boys to guard and heal. And bringing Bomber Mafia, of course, a very, very strong card, especially in this ramp list. And so moving on, we have the interesting um, combination of Japan and Finland trying to deny self-credit deny with the Japan self-credit deny package, but also using Finland for scrap metal to get a shot of credits in the arm um, to just be able to pop off with that. So that self-credit deny, but then Finland there to uh, just get shot of credits to really try to explode on the board with all of his Japanese units. And then coming down to the German US list, it looks more German US mid range. More or less one of the decks that you have been seeing going around in there. There is the Blitz Doctrine to buff the tanks as they come out. There is the War Machine to try to get some early tempo, and of course Bomber Mafia being brought in 2 of the 3 lists by Henry. Definitely interested to see which bombers he could pull out of that. They definitely could get some very strong ones. 1 copy of Blitzkrieg just to keep the opponent on the toes. Definitely could be a big swing there. And Reich Research in this mid-range list definitely has a lot of flexibility, just even on the first stage. Um, so yeah, got Comet as a finisher, looking like a strong German US mid-range list. So that's what we have for Henry. Let's move to Pancake's player profile. Pancake coming out with the favorite card as Plan West. Interesting choice, but it definitely is a great card. 793 matches on the month at a 73% win rate rounded up, putting him at second place. That is very strong showing. With a Japan as the most played. So let's go ahead and look at Pancake's list. Pancake bringing what appears to be one of the most common forms of Brit Air in this new meta. We're going to be seeing a full suite of close air supports and sea embargoes to buff his airplanes. So this deck is looking to establish a board early of fighters and bombers, preferably bombers because they don't take damage in return when they attack ground units. And then it's looking to buff that board with close air support and sea embargo, and just get a strong board early on, and then just snowball from there. With Shark, the new British bomber, with the capability with Kitty Hawk and Wellington to go face and finish off any remaining HQ defense, as long as with Bomber Mafia to help control the board, control the opponent's board, and get some burn damage in there while you're at it. Why not? The new For Freedom, or the For Freedom, I should say, uh, definitely is a good card to play with this theme of just getting some air units and buffing them out. So yeah, moving on to the Japan Germany list. This is not going to fall into the category of self credit denial. It's just going to be a standard Japan Germany aggro list. We're looking at 1 copy of Out of the Mist, just to give some flexibility on the removal, and maybe to take an interesting card from the opponent to allow him to replay it, um, or even use it on his own unit to be able to get a ping damage from the signal regiment, and then play a strong unit again. Interesting choices in here also are the Nate, the 2K Japanese fighter we're seeing come out in here. Definitely will be another fighter that can synergize with combined arms once the 20th Panzer Grenadier comes down and gives you that combined arms. Other than that, it looks like a standard Japan-Germany list trying to go fast and you just capitalize on early units going phase. In this last German-US list looks to be pretty much another variation of the German-US mid-range lists that we're seeing as very popular. We got the Blitz Doctrine. We got the 2K German infantry that can develop a German countermeasure. So we'll be interested to see what he can get from that. We got one copy of Blitzkrieg to keep people on their toes. Bomber Mafia again. That'll be a interesting card to see how it plays out today. See what bombers people can get. 4 copies of War Machine for early tempo, and he likes to stay flexible on his US tank bounce or suppress. So he's going 1 copy of a M10 and 1 copy of M16 to see to stay flexible on in that category. So it looks like a strong German US mid range again. So interested to see this one as well with shifting attack in there. That's got to be offer some cool moments. So looking forward to see how this plays out.
Awesome. We see Pancake then bringing some more classic and old school decks with new twists on them. We do have 4 more players, so we are going to throw it to Spooz next, who is going to take us through the player cards and the decks, I believe, of Morphling and Noone 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting off with Morphling here. Finished 4th this season, close finish there because only the first 2 directly qualifying for the OCC. So we had to go through the qualifiers, made it to today's day, and with 400 matches and a 69% win rate, definitely deserved to be here today. Most played Britain, but as we might see in the deck lists, there is not too much Britain coming in here today. Only 1 deck featuring Britain, as we might see soon. But first of all, we start with German US and the second deck US German. So kind of what we've seen earlier already with this German US deck, German mid-range that has a lot of flexibility. It has some early aggression with the Sieger regiments into 35Ts, but also some good late game or mid game tools like the Panzer Grenadiers. Definitely some new cards from new expansion in here, as we just saw in one of the already seen decks here. Stuff like Blitz Doctrine, I think you can put it in almost every deck that features Germany in it, as we just saw. It's even played in Japan, Germany, Jaggro, because it's giving you, for 1 credit, it just gives you a really good 1 credit tank that you can choose from, and with the option later in the game or in the mid game, you can just give your tanks that you deploy so much more potential to have an even more impact in the mid game that it's just a way too good card for what it's just costing. Then we have US Germany, which looks like Frontline in a way. It has definitely some tools of it, like the Shermans and the Greyhounds, but it also just got some tools that makes it stronger in the mid game, like the P40 M5 N5 and Devil's Brigade, tools that you can just use to also have a valid option in the mid game. And as we just saw here, Bomber Mafia also included. I think this card is similar to Blitz Doctrine. You can just put it in every US deck, even if you don't play the ramp archetype. I think it was originally designed to be a very good tool in this, but you can just put it in almost any deck these days because it's just the 2 damage that also deal phase damage, and if you compare it with Desperate Measures, for example. Sure, you can play Desperate Measure earlier in the game, but with this one, you can also just develop a bomber, plus it deals face damage. It's just a really good card, and I think a really solid deck here. We might just see how good US-Germany frontline still performs, but I'm optimistic that this might be a really good list. And then we have that Britain list that we just talked about. It's Britain-US Air, a deck that we've seen being very, very popular in the qualifiers. And a deck that when I played it on ladder, was really, really successful with. The new edition of, or the addition of the new cards, like the, Sea Embargo, for example, and the Shark Mark III. Those cards are just so good additions. Like the Sea Embargo buffs one of your air units, plus it lets you develop one other cheap air unit, which is really important because usually what can happen with Blitz Air, with Brit Air, you find your early airplanes and you play them early on. Your opponent clears the board, and then you're left out of cards. But this card helps you to always have something to play and choose from. And the Shark Mark III, that new bomber that deals on deployment damage to a target equal to your air units. For 2 credits, this card is just insane. This can also hit face, so even if you fall behind in the mid game and you have some cheap bombers in your hand without any way to blitz them out, you can just flood your support line, deploy this, and just finish your opponent with the deployment damage from this guy. It's just insane. So a really good deck. I'm surprised we didn't see it more from the other players, but yeah, I think Morphling having a good shot here with this lineup today. So, but unfortunately, oh no, never mind. Morphling is playing Pancake. So Noone, who's playing against Henry today, finished 3rd this season. So even closer to the direct qualification here. 77% win rate, which is really, really insane for 446 games. I think Noone, one of the players that we've seen, I think after J King, the most in the OCC. So really, really successful player. And yeah, bringing a similar lineup than Morphling. Let's take a look at it. Noone also starting here with Brit US Air. Yeah, we've talked about it earlier. I think we don't need to spend too much time with this. It looks really similar to what Morphling is bringing today. And so let's not waste any time with this. So second one, we also have US-Germany frontline. And yeah, which also looks pretty similar to what we've seen earlier. What I find interesting is there's one copy of the SD KFZ in it. And yeah, also the New for Freedom, that recently buffed card. It's really good right now because for 1 credit, it just replaces itself and gives one of your units +1/+1. And also stuff like 99. So it almost looks like a frontline list that we've seen a few months ago before the expansion. Not too many new cards. Sure, Blitz Doctrine, as I said, it's just a staple, and the new Jäger Regiment. But other than that, it's just mostly that basic frontline list that we've seen over and over again. And finally, final deck here is, which seems to be the most aggressive German-US list that we will see today. Although there's 2 War Machines in it. But other than that, no card that costs more than 4 credits. A really aggressive list, 2 Blitzkriegs in it, a lot of 1-drops, a lot of tools to flood the board early to get in those bodies on the board, and then you finish your opponent off with a Blitzkrieg. I'm a really big fan of this list. Also Stranglehold in it, which for 1 credit can, shut down your opponent in the mid game if they don't play around it. So really well-rounded list. And yeah, as I said, for Morphling, I think those lists are really, really good in the meta in the new meta, sorry. And definitely looking forward to see those in action today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Spooz. Now, we do have 2 competitors left, and we have one Caster left. So I'm going to take you through the decks of King 7 and 66 Better. We are going to take a quick peek at their player cards first. And yeah, let's get right into it. Here we see King 7 with insisting still on double strength being his favorite card. We have seen him play a double strength OTK deck. We've not seen him bring it back. That's all I'll say. We've not seen him bring it back. And unfortunately, I do have to say, when we look at his decks in just a moment, he does not have it today. So let's get straight into his decks and we can see what he does have today. Now we see starting with a German Finn Heinz deck. Now, German USA is slightly more popular, but German Finn is not that far behind. And you're essentially playing a operation cost game. You've got 3 copies of Lotus Vard, and then you have this Greif, and then you can also get 2 more Greifs. Not that you need multiple Greifs, but it's just a way of finding more of them from these Blitz Doctrines, which does also give you much more staying power than this deck used to have. You used to run out of cards, and then that was sort of it for you. But now the deck does have this extra value from Blitz Doctrines. It's a very interesting deck. We see the 1 copy of White Death, which may force his opponents to consider it when they are building up defenses. We also see the Donaire DO18G in here, which is a new card, and this means your units you deploy go straight into the front line. And this has proven to be a very powerful effect. If you can get all your units deploying straight into the front line, it's almost like giving them blitz, and it's almost like getting rid of their up cost. It can be really powerful, and the tempo it gives you can just be insane. I'm really excited to see the Donaire today. I hope we get to see it at least once or twice in some of these matches. The next deck we have is this South Credit Denial, SKD. Japan, Germany. It is a very much an aggressive deck in how it opens. You're looking to open with your Yokosukas, your Type 94. And then as the game closes out and goes on longer, you then gain this ability to combo off with one roof, gaining crazy amounts of credits. And then the Great Expanse is the way you finish the game, because you hopefully have about 20 credits to spend and about 1 credit slot in total. And then Great Expanse sets your credits to be the same as your opponents and buffs your whole team for a ridiculous amount. You can really explode and end the turn in a single end the game in a single turn with this deck. There is also a lot of card draw. We see 4 copies of Expansion. We see 2 copies of Arado. We see 3 copies of Jaeger Regiment, 3 copies of Air, Land, and Sea, which of course cycles a card, and then 3 copies of One Roof. So a lot of draw power in this deck, which is really the key. You find on these combo turns with One Roofs, you are far more likely to run out of card draw than you are to run out of credit. So it's really important that you cycle through the deck as quickly as possible with the cards you have. And then the last deck we have is actually a Push OTK. Now, Push OTK did get a couple tools given to it in the most recent expansion, namely National Fire Service and Air Reconnaissance, which we do see King running, and these just let you buy time and cycle through your deck. Obviously, National Fire Service lets you buy time. It means all the damage is reduced. It means you're not worried about things like Blitzkrieg. And then the Air Reconnaissance lets you filter through your deck a lot quicker. With Honey, it lets you heal a bunch, and then you just try and pop off with your Red Dawn and Push. Now, I do have to say, and I've spoken to King, we very almost, and I want to emphasize almost, saw this be a Catty OTK deck today. It just got cut at the last moment, but I'm hoping soon in the future we get to see the Push OTK replaced with a Britain Soviet Catty OTK. Would be a lot of fun. But that is all from King. We're going to get into 66 Better and see what he has to bring to the table. But first, his player card. We see 66 Better there, with Cass as his favorite card, 6th as the season finish, with a strong 70% win rate. Both players picking Japanese as their favorites. I think I've got to go Japan as well at the moment. They just have so much going on for them. The South Credit Denial deck is so much fun. So I get what they're saying. At least I assume that's why they're doing it. I assume they're not doing, say, South Discard shenanigans. But let's get into 66 Better's decks and see what he's got. We see a fairly traditional Jaguar deck. We do see things like Blitz Doctrine in here, which just give you so much value at the moment. We do see 1 copy of Sudden Strike. I assume this is to counter things like Britair, because they can buff up their units and then you get so much value when you sudden strike them. But they're also good against other Blitz Doctrine decks because these buffed up tanks can be really difficult to kill, especially if a 35T gets generated from the 20 Panzer Grenadier. It gets +1/+1 when you deploy it, and then it'll get +2/2 or +3/3 when you play the combined arms. So having a sudden strike available is really nice. And then we do see the one of Blitzkrieg to try and close out these games when 66 Better has the front line. Moving to this Germany USA deck, this has been one of the most popular decks at the moment. We do see the one of M10, which is a little bit risky, only running one M10 with no half tracks, but maybe trying to just be a little bit more aggressive. We do see the one of Tactical Strike, which can perform a similar role. And then we do see the 4 War Machines, which has been very popular, even though there isn't a heavy end to the deck. Now, you might think, why do you have 4 War Machines if there's not such a heavy end to the deck? Part of it is you have this Bomber Mafia, and with Bomber Mafia, when you reach 8 credit slots, it becomes possibly the best card in the game. But before you reach 8 credit slots, it's just a useless card. So having this War Machine to allow you to reach that 8k slot quicker is really, really impactful. But then we also do have some expensive tanks we can get from Blitz Doctrine. Things like Panther D can be real game swingers. So having the War Machine to let you actually play and operate those could be quite impactful. And then we see the flip side of this, which is this USA German. USA German is slightly more aggressive. We see things like the Greyhounds being played here. We see the 164 really good at contesting the front line. But we do only see 2 Shermans. And one of the rules of frontline for the longest time was 4 Shermans. You ran 4 Shermans. It's what you needed. It's what you wanted. You'd see people asking for deck advice, and you'd always say to them, put in the 4th Sherman. Why are you only running 3 of them? Now we
3, 2, 1.
Saving the day.
Can't believe it! Look at this!
Hello and welcome to the June OCC Clash. Thank you for joining us. I am here with OHX Cornguy, and we are here to jump into the very first match. Hopefully you joined us today for the pre-show where we went over the brackets and an in-depth look at all of the decks being featured today by our incredible players. We are going to jump right into it with our first match between J King and Shimakaze. Take a very quick look at the decks here. Quick look at the bracket first, of course, where we can see that first match is J King versus Shimakaze, and then 66 Better versus Berto, Pancake versus Morphling, and lastly we have Noone 5 versus Henry. So a really great top 8. We've got some names that you might not be familiar with at all, some names that you're definitely familiar with, and then some really great names in the middle, guys that have come to, it's definitely not their first OCC, but you wouldn't quite call them a regular quite yet. So really, really nice full spectrum here on our bracket today. And to go over J King's list real quickly, we have a Finnish Heinz making use of the new Blitz Doctrine card. We have a Credit Denial Jagro making use of the new Credit Denial package, including One Roof and the Great Expanse. And then lastly, we have the incredibly nefarious Push OTK, which most people are quite familiar with. Not a lot of new tech in that one, if any at all, but still very, very formidable. Corn, if you could take us through Shimakaze's decks real fast.
Definitely. We see here the British Exile Air trying to snowball Exile Air units very quickly. And then we see the German US mid-range, and we see the Soviet Japan Air. If I had to make a prediction, I would predict that the Soviet Japan Air is not banned. But let's go ahead and see how that plays out.
Yeah, let's take a look right into our ban phase here. J King getting his self-credit denial banned, and Shimakaze getting that Exile Brit Air banned. Does this make sense to you, Corn? Is this what you expect from the ban phase?
I don't know what you ban from J King. If you're Shimakaze, definitely either that one or the Brit push OTK strong candidates. And it makes sense from J King to ban that Exile Air. Definitely is the scariest and also maybe the most frustrating to lose against.
Yeah, definitely a good point. It's certainly the most pop-off potential, right, of those decks. A turn 4 hammer home, especially if the Exile
yeah.
players going first, can be just unanswerable, can kind of just secure you a game. So definitely makes sense to me. We are just waiting a sec here for our players, and we will get right into our first matchup here at our June OCC Clash.
Yeah, looking back at Shimakaze's Soviet Japan Air list, I am definitely excited to see how it plays out. Um, it definitely could pop off, but we got to see how it plays out because it's something we haven't seen a lot. Maybe it has a pop off potential that we haven't seen, or maybe this might be the one time we see it. But excited to see which case that is.
Yeah, and bringing the jet deck too. Obviously, the only like jet deck in the entire tournament. If you were here during the pre-show, I actually stumbled explaining the jet deck because I've just been so used to seeing every German deck, every German US deck being Blitz Doctrine. Literally on ladder or in this tournament, basically every German US deck being a Blitz Doctrine, a tank deck, some form of Heinz, some form of something that is going to try to operate around those cards. and Shimakaze completely eschewing that for the jet deck. I think very interesting.
Yeah, I think in the breakdown, it definitely has some of the mid range elements, but definitely falls more into that jet prototype list that we saw a while back, December, January. Um, Firebomb is an interesting addition to this list. Can get some face value, make the Jets' job a little bit easier if you can capitalize on that firebombing going face. But if it just wipes the board too, that's definitely an acceptable outcome.
Yeah, and just there's so many ways that a lot of this can go, right? And to your point about the Soviet air deck, I would say that it's a newer card, right? Claim the Skies. It's not a part of the expansion, but it is a card that came out as, I believe, a skirmish reward from not
Hmm.
too long ago. So I would still kind of say it's not necessarily a new card, but a card that maybe a lot of our viewers maybe are much less familiar with, especially since Soviet Air is not an archetype, right? It's definitely something that people have tried to make work. We're gonna see Shimakaze try to make it work today. But in the past, Soviet Air has just not really been able to stand up. Even when Brit Air would try to maybe take Soviet as an ally, it just seemed like there were better allies. And then even when people tried to build things like Japan Air with Rule the Skies and some of the really incredible Japanese fighters, it seems that they have gone other directions as well. So Claim the Sky is definitely a strong card. It's going to be a big deal for that deck. Shimakaze is running 3 of them, so we'll have to see if that is meaningful. Getting into our first game right here, we see J King opening with the push OTK and Shimakaze opening with the jet deck.
Yeah, this definitely looks to be a familiar matchup, for the new expansion dropping. Brit Push OTK versus Jet Deck is certainly a throwback.
Yeah, almost February's OCC here.
Exactly. Interesting.
Our players exchanging some quick emotes here. You love to see it. Fortune does favor the bold. It's been said.
And Shimakaze opting to not bring any odd lists, not, doesn't think that autocannon or um any other
Pipper.
pipper. Yeah. So, those are optional cards you could bring.
Really
And
great odd
yeah.
odd cost cards. So things that will, if you discard them on the jet play, will not buff the jet op. But to your point, is definitely interesting, as I feel like a lot of players really started to play maybe like 3 or 4, maybe even all the way to 5 odd cost cards when jet was popular, because they were just too powerful to ignore, essentially.
Yeah, and something that I am noticing is this jet deck doesn't it definitely feels like it starts slow because there is no 0 or 1k units, and having the Panzer 35T with no infantry down early is the slower way to play it, just like we saw. But the speed doesn't matter too much against this push OTK, as long as you can really threaten the HQ before it can pop off against you.
We see the new card here, the 15th Auk. I'm not going to try to say the full word. I'm sure Spooz will enlighten us shortly on the proper pronunciation. But that allows you to develop a countermeasure. So you can get any German countermeasure, including elites, including even if you're not playing a German main deck. So there is a lot of shenanigans between what you can draw off of that. Suddenly, a something simple like a missing that you're not normally taking in your deck, they have to think about, or something even advanced as an envelop, where now suddenly that card that, especially in a open deck list tournament, you know, that player knows isn't in your deck. They have to kind of play around basically every countermeasure once they see that 14 Auk come down. And we saw another one in Shimakaze's deck that he can draw into later.
Yeah, in that choice of the Spoils of War, interesting, Comet was there. And I do agree, Comet was not the choice to take just because it's only going to see guards from J King. And when there is no guards, likely there'll be a National Fire Service tempering its face damage. So, smart choice to choose the War Machine for that early tempo, as the Comet is likely not going to be a strong factor in this matchup, at least in this early to transitioning into the middle of this match.
And we saw what he did draw from Auk was actually a new countermeasure that is from the most recent expansion, Hit the Drop Point, which is a free countermeasure, or at least, I'm sorry, a countermeasure with 0 cost, right? There's a couple of those now, which can be really brutal, right? It's hard to play around that card already, having to play around all of those different countermeasures, but then having to keep in mind that just because they spent all their credits doesn't mean that, you know, they're not they don't have this up their sleeve. It does still need to be dealt with. And you saw suppressing a Glamour Boy is a pretty big deal. Obviously, it comes suppressed after it enters the field, so J King's still getting all of the health from the deployment effect, but it loses guard immediately from that countermeasure, which in a deck where big old jets are trying to beat you down could be a big deal.
Yeah, and that Pioneer is doing a lot of discounting right now when you look at that hand. But not to be
Absolutely.
outdone, the aerial reconnaissance could just take away a lot of credits from J King's hand, you know, discount a lot.
Shimakaze actually taking the line that I wanted him to take here. I do think that both those units needed to die. I think that was a great use of Firebomb. You could see him start to think about using the Sudden Strike to kill the Pioneer, which has to die. I mean, J King is literally playing an order-heavy deck, so a discount every turn, it's just not sustainable for Shimakaze. But having, you know, the thought that 6 health on the Bryansk is perfect to just take Sudden Strike and not deal with that. And then only 4 health. Firebomb takes care of that very, very neatly. So good play from a player that let's be reminiscent here has only been around since March.
True. Now, when we think about the German countermeasures available to Shimakaze, you have to think retaliation is a one that J King does not want him to get. You know, seeing as he has a push OTK list, he would definitely be looking to play around that with, you know, before he pops off. But I'm despite, you know, the new countermeasure Hit the Drop Point being, you know, good on a Glamour Boy. Now that J King has seen that played, he is he's a lot freer to go for a retaliate, to not have to play around retaliation, you know, or a stranglehold or something like that. So, you know, it was a great find, but the anxiety of not knowing which countermeasure your opponent developed is certainly appreciated to be relieved very quickly.
Definitely an interesting point. I uh, is retaliation for sure in the competitive pool right now? I honestly don't know.
I have up the German countermeasures and with the active filter, so I believe it
Yeah,
is.
no, it definitely is. Fact checking it, well done. So yeah, really, really excellent point. That has not happened to me on ladder. I've seen quite a bit of oxen. Nobody's taking retaliation. That was very interesting. See J King here just cycling and healing and cycling and healing. That last turn, I think I would have liked to see Shimakaze take out the honey. I understand you're thinking like, oh, he's only guaranteed 1 health next turn. I can do 5 damage, so the net positive for me seems extreme. But as you get more reps against this sort of push OTK deck, you know that especially the way J King plays it, it's basically just a draw engine. The deck is just a stall and draw. All it's going to do is stall and draw until he gets those 4 magical cards in his hand and can kill you in one shot. So he probably, I wasn't counting, but he probably healed more than 5 off that honey, even in just that turn or 2 turns. So I definitely would have liked to see that as the play. The stranglehold
Going for the
is very
stranglehold,
interesting.
but the stranglehold, it might be too late for it. J King is looking to assemble Exodia, the push OTK list to get a win here.
Yeah, I actually find it to be an odd pick, being that J King does not have many units in the deck at all, besides like a couple honeys and some stall units. So the turn where J King
Oh
is
no.
putting a unit out first and losing a bunch of credits, I don't think that's happening for J King. So I'm not in love with that pick from Shimakaze. Corn reacting to the draw of another new card, this wave after wave. Which is just some ridiculous AoE.
Definitely going to clear the board. Shimakaze appears to be on the ropes. Both bomber mafias, which could get a massive US blitz bomber, are at the bottom after that spoils of war, I believe. So J King going full throttle here.
And he's even allowing Shimakaze to commit more to this board, it looks like. It does not look like this is the wave after wave turn. Yeah, we're going to pin that 5 damage tank. We're not worried about the 3 damage from the Panzergren. Go ahead and take the 1 damage from your bomber. These these numbers just aren't enough to influence push OTK to not do what it wants to do. You can see here now as well that that suppressed honey, just ram that into that 35T, and now wave after wave is very, very well set up.
Yeah, and J King choosing, he's like, I'm not under any pressure. I don't need to use this yet. I hope that I can catch a jet prototype with this wave after wave.
Which might
Probably what
be
he's thinking.
exactly what happens, but the snowstorm turn here really ruins any thoughts of jet prototype. It would cost 4 to move something to the front line. You wouldn't be able to play it any longer, and even if you did, of course, snowstorm still active on the turn for the whole turn, regardless of if the unit was deployed before or after. Will affect blitzers deployed on your turn as well.
Oh
The
no.
long, silly way of saying that. And there's that envelop, not useful. From the deep, not really useful.
Yeah, and J King is in full control of this match right now. He'd have to draw absolutely horrible to not get the OTK combo off here. But I would like to note with the snowstorm in this list, um, cards like Victory March and Bolster are pretty good surprises to be running in your mid range lists. To counter this. So if you're seeing a lot of this push OTK list in your own personal games, consider running one of those as a counter to it in your own matches.
Hey, King plays around Stranglehold perfectly. It effectively does nothing. Would have maybe liked to see I guess not Stranglehold was the first pick. The Lightning Strike was the second pick. Instead of Lightning Strike, maybe From the Deep to catch a Glamour Boy, however, would not have had the credits to play it. But just J King with an embarrassment of stall options, right? You saw him think about the National Fire Service. You saw him sort of coming with like again, just there's not enough pressure for me to be scared. I can National Fire Service, and I know that I'm only taking like at max 4 or 5 damage, which I don't really care about, and that allows me to stall an entire other turn and for Shimakaze to put even more onto the board and get even more wave after wave value.
Shitzen, definitely a strong card, seems to have fallen a little bit out of the meta. It's interesting to see it being played here. Stiff upper lip here, not getting its full draw value because of the suppression on that unit. However, we get another guard, allows him to draw 2. We got 3 red dons and 1 push in hand. Not very many cards remaining. J-King shaking his head that he doesn't have the combo yet, but he will have it soon. Can Shimakaze pressure him enough? Not
Only
likely
one
with all
card
these
away.
stalls in hand. And so
2 Jets.
at this point, Shimakaze has to have a strong mental fortitude. Not it's the series is not over yet. He can definitely flip the script on J King to come. I am pretty much expecting this to go off, but in the meantime, I will say, gotta love his card back choice right now. This looks pretty good.
Strong card back. And of course, just an ugly an ugly turn for Shimakaze, just knowing like the whole point of playing Jet is 0 op cost. I'm gonna discard a bunch of stuff for the 0 op cost, and then it's still gonna cost 4 because of these dang snowstorms. J King, top deck, second push, and that'll do it. That'll do it for this one. It's over. Push OTK. Coming out on top again, J King with a quick 1-0 lead, or at least as quick as a push OTK game can really go.
Yeah, interesting to note, Shimakaze did not float any credits to bluff, but it would not have mattered if he bluffed retaliation in this instance. J King in the driver's seat from the get-go, but hopefully Shimakaze will be able to hijack the car that J King's driving here in round 2.
And I have to assume that we stick with the Jet deck. I don't know that I like the matchup of playing the Soviet Air into the Finnish Heinz or the Finnish Blitz Doctrine. But at some point, if Shimakaze is going to take the set, he will have to do exactly that and come up with a win. So, but yeah, you can see him going with the Jet deck here. Feels like the better matchup. Maybe try to
Wow.
earn that final game. Yeah, J King quit the hand.
Do you like that hand? Are you? The SDKFZ, lovingly referred to as the KFC truck, getting put back in the deck. Blitz Doctrine right away being slammed. J King knows he has time to develop Blitz Doctrine
It's
against
going to be
this
double
this
Blitz
deck.
Doctrine as well, getting both of them in his opening 4 off the mulligan, one before the mulligan, one after. It's I know that Shimakaze doesn't know this, doesn't have all the information we have, but this already looks bleak to me. That is how strong Blitz Doctrine has become.
He's about to find out. There it is. That was the Blitz Doctrine that made Shimakaze cry, right there. But
seeing them back to back, knowing that it'll probably be turn 3 and turn 4. Yeah, you. I hate to say it, but you better ramp. you better ramp, Shimakaze.
yeah, this is interesting board. You know, these tanks are going to be coming just outside of Bomber Mafia removal range.
Turn 5. Turn 5, he's going to play a tank that gets +2/+2, and every turn after turn 5. It is going to be quite the mess. That was a scatter tactics, I believe. Another new countermeasure. Interesting to not pick missing or the other countermeasure. Both of which were removed. Going to be a lot of cards. I'm sorry, a lot of tanks in J King's deck, all of which are going to want to take the front line. So you can understand trying something there, but does not. And J King does not need his double Blitz Doctrine yet. He says, I have Greif, I have only 1 Blitz Doctrine, and that is enough. Obviously, if you can operate 3 A's on the same turn with without having to pay for it, that's going to be a very valuable turn.
All right. What are you taking here? I think Stranglehold, but it doesn't matter if the opponent has 0 credits if you have 0 operation cost.
Not only that, I think that you're just not going to catch someone like J King with a Stranglehold. It's not too hard to play around Stranglehold unless you're me, and then you're really bad at it. But everybody else plays around Stranglehold incredibly well, and I really don't expect that to catch J King off guard here.
Shimakaze on the ropes. This board is already looking very impressive. Let's see if the scatter tactics can impact this match and stymie J King's advance on his HQ.
Yeah, Shimakaze would love one of the 2 damage tanks to attack first instead of the 1/3. Trigger scatter tactics to make sure that that 2 damage gets flipped onto a random unit of J Kings, and then for that to hit the Greif. I have to imagine that's the best possible outcome. Not only would it be a 1 in 4, but oh, I'm sorry, scatter tactics is not the one I was thinking of. I'm getting that wrong. Scatter tactics, as you saw, just -2 to the board, which useful, a little bit of stall for Shimakaze. The other new countermeasure, of course, does damage based on what hit to your own units. I'm failing at what that one is called at the moment, so I just look like a crazy person. But I assure you, there's a new countermeasure that does that.
One thing I've noticed about the meta after this new expansion is, and this is a theme that we've always seen, but the popular decks right now are just looking to operate for free. To every card wants to do stuff for free. And this deck from J King is certainly highlighting the strong value of free operation. You know, all these tanks are doing incredible amounts of damage for 0 cost, allowing you to use your credits to buff them, to add more tanks, to play more blitz and contest doctrines, while you can just attack for free. If you can do free stuff in cards, you're doing something right.
Yeah, very, very true. And you can see J King again seeing the 1 credit floated and playing masterfully around Stranglehold. Basically saying that the ultimate turn here is to spend 3 on the second doctrine and the other 3 on one of his 3-cost units, thereby not having to worry about Stranglehold at all. Interesting. Instead chooses to just pop it this way because he knows then with
Oh
Greif
no.
out that it won't actually take anything from him. The operation cost will still be 0, so not having any credits won't matter. And yes, Corn reacting to drawing the AoE, unfortunately, 1 turn early.
We could see the firebomb into a Heinkel, depending on where this 1 extra damage goes.
And it
Not
spreads out.
spreads out. That was a fast match by
Yeah,
J
that
King.
will
Said
do it.
for playing a stall OTK list, this was a quick series. And you gotta tip your cap to Shimakaze making his way through quals and then changing his deck lineup a little bit. It doesn't work out in his favor, but hopefully he learns from this experience and he can come back even stronger. I love his creativity, but J King really did not uh,
Didn't mess around.
didn't mess around. The
Big
gloves were
ups.
off.
The clubs were off. Big ups to Shimakaze though, making a tournament that fast, incredible. Making it through quals, having only started the game in March, incredible. And then of course you get the KARDS player luck of going right against J King as soon as you do all that. That is how it works. Congratulations, you've been initiated. So we are going to throw it over to our next team of casters, the very lovely Bubbles and Spooz, as they get us ready for our next match.
Hello, and we also have the bracket here for us. We see J King, of course, beating Shimakaze. 66 better, getting a 2-1 up against Berto, and Noone 5 losing 1-2 against Henry. But now, I believe we're going to be doing Pancake versus Morphling, and I'm going to be joined by the lovely Spooz. Hello, Spooz. How are you?
Hello, yeah. Really looking forward to that series. Pancake only 1 point behind J King last season, finishing second. So they're definitely here to show us that they're the better player, better than J King. So they're definitely trying to beat Morphling. But before we start with the series, I think we are going to take a look through the decks shortly, right?
Yes, just a quick quick look through. Don't want to spend too long on it as the players are waiting. You see Pancake here bringing the Brit ramp deck, the Germany-Japan, I'd call it more traditional Jagro because we do have the South credit in our deck. And then we have the German USA mid-range. And then Spooz going to take us through Morphling's decks in just a moment.
So yeah, I'm really familiar with these lists since I already spoke about them, so I'm not going to spend too much time. We also have German US mid-range for Morphling here. We have US, Germany, kind of frontline mid-range, a little bit more mid-range based, and then we have Brit, US, Air as well. So really similar lineups from both players. The only difference is the Japan, Germany Jaguar list from Pancake and the US, Germany frontline mid-range list here from Morphling.
I mean, depending how the bans turn out, it could end up to be an identical matchup.
Yeah,
However,
absolutely.
I've noticed there's an enemy spotted in this Brit Air list, and that could potentially, in the Brit Air mirror, that could be a dead card for quite a long time, as it requires your opponent taking the front line to trigger. And Brit Air, it's got Greyhounds, it's got 1/6/4, so it doesn't mind taking the front line sometimes, but it's not the most actively trying to take the front line. Do you have any ban predictions before we get to see these bans?
So I haven't played a lot or I haven't watched a lot of competitive play since new expansion, but I had a feeling that Brit Air seems pretty strong. And I think with Jagger, for example, you really don't want to run into this. And also this Germany and US list run a lot of units that have early aggression and a lot of health early on. So all your tiny 1-drops probably die to this and give your opponent a good 2-for-1 trade. So maybe, you just go for the Brit Airband there and hope you get the rest of your deck through.
I mean, when you're going against Brit Air as Jagro and you see the turn 1 swordfish come out and you're like, oh, okay, well this is just over. There's nothing I can do to come back against this. And then do you think this Jagro? So I personally expect Jagro to go through, and then you're left, I believe, with German US and US Germany, which are very similar decks. The German one is a little bit slower, and the USA one is generally a little bit quicker because you need the front line so that you can secure the Sherman, so you need to be a little bit quicker. Have you played this mirror much? I've not played the mirror much myself, so it's going to be very interesting to see what the players think is the strongest deck in the mirror, because I do think these will be some of the decks to target. If you can get the advantage in this mirror, then you could stand a really good chance in this series.
Yeah, I think the German deck is a little bit better than the US one because just these Germany really got some cool new cards. For example, some cool elites in shifting attack, for example, that just gives you the chance to blitz out a comet twice a turn. So for 8 credits, you just play it for 6, bounce it back with shifting attack, and then just do it again, which is a really nice combo. And you can't do this with the US main deck because the shifting attack is an elite. So I think the German deck has some cooler tools, some is a little bit stronger. So I think you try to get into that US deck if possible.
I mean, so the German elites, there's shifting attack, like you said, but then you also have things like Nashub, and sometimes you look at your hand and you think, "There's no way I lose this," and then Nashub comes out from your opponent, and you think, "Okay, I've lost this. This is just it for me." It can generate so much value so quickly. And the US elites were one of the popular elites in this style of deck has always been Skytrain. but Skytrain has been non-directly nerfed. They lost Red Devils, which were one of the stronger units you could get from Red Devils, and they now have the juice. But we have the bans. We see Pancake is going to ban the German deck from Morphling, and Morphling going to get rid of the Brit deck for Pancake. So I don't believe we're going to see. I have no mirrors. Surprisingly, with these lineups,
Yeah,
there's no mirrors.
they just picked the bands where there's not a single mirror possible. So congrats to the players for achieving that. Okay, I mean, mirrors are always kind of like strange, right? You kind of feel bad if you play against a player with a similar deck and then you lose, and yeah, I mean, it depends a lot on who's going first. So I think it's better if you just dodge the mirror and just play different matchups. But both players with a more like aggressive list here. Pancake going in.
Morphling does have this swordfish that we spoke about. Pancake gonna better push up a Yokosuka or play a 33rd. It's gonna be a little bit slow though, the 33rd against Brit Air. Morphling is going to be able to do things like put down the swordfish, then develop the pioneer, start putting down buffs, and it could be difficult for Pancake to deal with these bombers in a cost-effective way. Raiding Brigade does offer a really, really nice way of getting these while developing your own board, but Morphling probably going to get a freebie this turn.
Yeah, and Pancake already in a situation that you just spoke about a few minutes ago. Playing Jaggeru, facing turn 1 Swordfish from your opponent, that's not really the situation you want to be in. And now with these new orders, like for Freedom for example, it can just offer a lot of trading value for the opponent early on, since it for 1 credit gives 1 air unit +1/+1, and can therefore be a very, very strong removal tool early on. But as you said, Raiding Brigade coming down here, removing the Swordfish, leaving Morphling with 0 air units on board.
However, is left with the Pioneer, and this Pioneer was recently changed. It used to reduce all orders by 1 to a minimum of 1. Now it reduces the first order by 1, but not to a minimum of 1, which means these 0k orders that Brit Air loves, like Casson for Freedom, can now cost 0. We actually saw this card spike in popularity after the change to it because of Brit Air. It's one of these decks where you always felt a little bit awkward running it because you had a bunch of 1k Casses and you felt like you weren't getting much out of it, but now able to reach 0k orders.
Yeah, and a nice story about that. I just realized that it's working this way now when I played Brit Air myself, and I just thought, why would so many players put Pioneers into Brit Air with so many 1 credit orders? Yeah, and I just realized why they do this, because it can reduce the cost to 0 now, which makes it really, really good. Even if you just play it on that turn, it's just for free, right? And even each turn after, it's just giving you so much value with all these 1 credit orders. It's just insane.
The card it really reminds me of is Kaburg's Pioneer, where Kaburg's Pioneer will give you a credit once a turn. Now the Pioneers, what they do is they give you the credit once a turn, but they also have smoke screen and 4 defense and get to give you the credit the turn they come down. So it's sort of everything Kaburg's Pioneers wishes it was. It is a very powerful card at the moment.
Absolutely.
Morphling
Pancake.
putting on the pressure, but another powerful card from Brit Air we see, the Shark Mark III, a 1/2 for 2k, so it's got the same stats as Albacore, but this deployment effect, Spooz, this is so powerful.
This card is, I think for 2 credits, it's just too strong. It could easily be a 3 credit card and would still be very, very good, but I think for 2k, it's just overpowered. Like, if you have, it's just a better, what is it, Albacore?
It's pretty much a better Albacore. You could say, oh, well, Albacore pins, and, you know, if you're not going to kill the unit. But the thing is with Shark is it almost always kills the unit. And you might think, okay, well, that's pretty good. It's going to kill units. But this can also hit face.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
sometimes you'll be sitting there on, like, 8 health, and your opponent will go, like, Shark, 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 and just rip you down. And it can be really quite a painful experience.
Yeah, especially since you can get it from this what is
Sea
sea
embargo,
Sea
yeah.
embargo. You can get it from that, so you can have up to what is it, five of those sharks. So it's yeah, that's really a strong card and made Brit Air viable again, I guess. One
We
of the
do
two
see
things.
Pancake finding a good source of value here in this Blitz Doctrine, giving them a 35T, a Panzer 3H, and a permanent buff to all their tanks. Only cost them 4 credits to do so. So you think about Convoy. Convoy is 3k for 2 extra cards. This is 4k for 2 extra cards, one of which is guaranteed to be cheap, both of which are guaranteed to be tanks, and you get a permanent buff to your tanks for the rest of the game. This card is so powerful, and it was looking almost unwinnable for Pancake. Yes, they had Sheeden, it's a pretty good card, but it didn't feel like it was going to be enough, especially with these sharks hanging about, which can swoop out of nowhere and take Sheeden away with these deployment effects. But now, with this Blitz Doctrine, Pancake looks like they may have a viable chance. I don't want to say they have the advantage, because Morphling is still doing incredibly well with this Predator deck at the moment, but it certainly put them back onto the map.
Ooh, Desperate Measures is a good top deck here for Pancake. Yeah,
able
Pancake
to
really
clear these
refilling the hand
fighters.
there. There was a few turns ago they were sitting there with one shit in hand. Now suddenly they have some choices there. The expansion really helped. Re-establishing a hand here.
And the Panzer Grenadier, such a powerful card at the moment when you have these Blitz Doctrine, because this tank, it's going to be a 3/3 with the Blitz Doctrine deployment, but then also you get this this combined arms with the Nate in hand. We could easily see a sort of 6/6 35T, which could be very difficult for Morphling to deal with.
Starting to chip away on the Gladiator. Not caring too much about dealing face damage here. With all these sharks being around, I think you want to keep the amount of air units in your opponent's support line in check.
I mean, if you give Bridair any breathing room, it can punish you so hard. So it's really important to keep these air units down. Kill them as soon as they come up before they get buffed. This takes away sea embargo targets. This takes away cast targets. It takes away for freedom targets, and it also reduces the amount of proc damage that Shark is going to do on its deployment. So it's really important to keep these air units in check until you can end the game in 1 or 2 turns. Really, against Bridair, you want to be sweeping them in a couple turns, and until then, just stopping them develop these fighters and bombers, because it can be a real problem if you give them any breathing space. Now we see, look at the size of this.
It's a
You think a
5/5,
4/5
35T.
fighter would be pretty difficult to kill, but Pancake says, no, not at all. I can get rid of this straight away.
So what do you kill here? The Lightning or the Gladiator? I think
The
because of
Gladiator is
two
the one
operation
operation.
costs?
Yeah. I mean, you're
Might
very unlikely to bounce any cards in this deck here. With no
Ooh.
bounce available, it's
Good options here. 2 of those cards can pin a big tank, and maybe Morphling could be tempted to go face with the Lightning. With 2 sharks in hand, it's not too unlikely to push out the remaining damage here. Deciding to go for the Kitty Hawk and kill the 35T even.
But like you say, we may see Morphling start to try and sneak out face damage soon. And we see that 5 damage to face, a shark going to come down. Where is this going to go? You've got 3 damage on a stick. Opts to get rid of the Panzer Grenadier. And this desperate measures in Pancake's hand really going to come to light here. Going to get rid of the shark. Enables the 33rd Recon to get rid of this 2/3. However, you still have the problem of this Wrath Lightning, and this is one of the things with Sea Embargo. It gives +2 health, so not only do you get an extra unit in hand, but you get a really, really strong unit with just how much HP it has. And already, all these Bridair units, they come with like 2, 3, 4 defense already, so when you add 2 on top of that, it can be very difficult to kill them. We do see the second 35T available now for Pancake. Going to be able to clear these air units. It's
One
going to
credit
have to
short of playing
sacrifice.
Blitz Doctrine as well.
They have to sacrifice his own board to do so. However... Oh, Bomber Mafia
Oh,
could be a game changer.
Let's see what they
We'll do 2
can
damage to
shoot.
face. Privateer and
Ooh.
B24J are both very valid options. B24J obviously going to suppress any of these buffed up units. Privateer going to be really difficult for Pancake to kill.
Oh, and they're getting close, setting Pancake to 7 HP health now. And how is Pancake going to deal with the Privateer?
I mean, maybe just sheed in on the defense is the only way to deal with it. We see Morphling thinking about how to best play around Bombing Raid. Almost like to see it. So the things going on in Morphling's mind right now is on the one hand, there's Bombing Raid. How do I play around this? But on the other hand, there's Cass. I need to play around my own Cass and just trying to find the balance in that. We do have Sheedin, we do have Nate, so Pancake able to set up some defenses, but this Privateer with its heavy armor can actually just aggressively trade into Sheedin.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And Pancake cannot attack it once, since it has +2 operation cost to target that unit. Goes face probably, or takes out the Kitty Hawk. Yeah.
Takes out the Kitty Hawk. But this is going to allow the Shark to get rid of the Sheedin, which means we can see 5 damage go to face here from Morphling, as well as a full board of units. Hold on. Does he have the credits for lethal? No, he's... How much? He's got the credits for lethal. If you buff it so that your Pioneers has 1 attack, buff your Pioneers to have 1 attack, the Wildebeest will trigger.
Oh, yeah, nice.
That will do 5 damage from your Privateer with the cast buff. Morphling has lethal on board.
Does he see it? I mean, it's not too easy to see, but
It's not obvious, but he's put his Wildebeest in the perfect spot. Oh, he's seen it. He has to have seen it. He's seen it!
He saw it.
And he finds the lethal against Pancake.
Nice.
Taking game 1.
The Wildebeest.
I am so glad this wasn't missed. He's
Sealing
just
the
double
deal
checking the
here.
maths. I'm not crazy. I have got lethal here. Beautiful find here from Morphling.
Yeah, that was really, really well executed. And not too easy to see. I mean, there's an easy way to not see that lethal there. So really well spotted from Morphling, taking him up with a 1-0 lead. But I think it was also a very hard matchup there for Pancake with this.
Especially with the Swordfish
Yeah.
and then the For Freedom coming down. This Pioneers came down on turn 1. I don't want to say we played an order every turn for Morphling, but there was an order played on most turns. It saved so many credits, and it guaranteed the lethal at the end. It gave us the cost reduction for lethal, and it gave us the body to bear to attack for lethal. This game, Pancake put up a really strong fight, and we saw the power of Blitz Doctrine here as it tried to give Pancake this tool back into the game, and it almost did it, but Morphling just having some very powerful cards themselves. The Bomber Mafia, of course, such a strong card right now. Shark doing so much work. And now Morphling is left with the USA-Germany deck, and Pancake has Germany-USA, so it can go for the semi-mirror or can try for Japan again. We'll see Japan a second time.
Pancake sticks with Japan here. Also... It's also kind of difficult if just Morphling finds...
How is
164s is a
Morphling-
good tool, for example. To deal with
Morphling
the
keeps
bazookas.
Morphling keeps a 35T and a War Machine, which makes an interesting question for turn 2. I assume we're going to see 35T come out. However, out the mist from Pancake.
Yeah, really.
Makes this-
Yeah, really risky hand here for Morphling. Like turn 1, turn 2, and probably turn 3 you have an empty hand almost, and one desperate measures clears the board, and then you're left with nothing. This is not looking too good for Morphling right now.
When
No
you take
Sherman
this
in hand.
164th as Pancake and you turn it into a Japanese unit as well, it becomes really powerful because you can use it to enable a lot of things such as the expansion. However, just going to play it for tempo. And Morphling now, I mean, you feel like you're in trouble no matter what you do. You go face, it's just going to get killed. You trade, it's just going to get killed. Once again, turning units Japanese, very powerful. We did see a while ago when Out the Mist was popular, expansions being run as an ally-only card because you were just able to get so many Japanese units. Morphling
Hellcat
at
being a
least.
really good top deck here, making them not skip a turn and efficiently use the 5 credits there.
However, what will Pancake put up to answer this? I'd be tempted just to put down a Panzer Grenadiers. We're gonna see the trade trying to play around the Sherman, I imagine.
Yeah, you really want to take that one
That
off.
stops the 99th. Strap bombing, it's just gonna come out.
Keeps Morphling on curve here, but yeah, they really need a blitz unit and followed up by a Sherman.
We are approaching Bomber Mafia at a very rapid rate.
Oh, there's a Sherman at least. One more turn until Bomber Mafia really matters here.
We're almost guaranteed. We need to see this Panzer Grenadiers reach the front line. Otherwise, we are guaranteed a Sherman draw on Morphling's turn. So there you go. Prevents the Sherman draw. As now Bomber Mafia will no longer enable it. Mitchell could be a very nice find. Havoc, not the worst find, as it will let you clear the board. Super Fortress, just a meme. Don't take the Super Fortress.
Not in an OCC.
Havoc, not the best bomber, but also not the worst. This is sort of the mid-tier bomber. It lets you do something, but not at a great cost. Really, you want B-24s. Mitchell can be a very powerful find. There are some useful bombers, but there's also quite a few useless bombers.
I mean, in this scenario, it was kind of useful, right? It just helps you to develop another unit on board and increases the chance that you have at least one left next turn to push to the front line to get the Sherman draw. So I think it was pretty good. Morphling just thinking about whether playing the PIR or pushing up the 99s. Deciding
Now,
to have 3 units on board here.
I'm glad he played the PIR, because otherwise it would have just been giving the best bombing raid of all time to Pancake. Now Pancake going to use this combined arms for a +3/+3.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what a card!
That was an insane draw there.
That is going to allow Morphling to get one of their Shermans off. And this could potentially turn around the game in their direction. There's another Bomber Mafia. There's 2 Blitz Doctrines. There's a lot of cards to find. Finds the in the Navy and seemingly puts it up before he can even get it into his hand.
It was already activated when being drawn. That looked cool.
The game was like, don't worry, I know what I know your plans. And we'll see if he's able to use it to really trip up Pancake here. P40, not the best card at this stage in the game, but against Aggro, it will always be useful to a certain amount. It's just a very powerful card. And we see Shinano.
Whoa.
Oh no, here comes the in the Navy.
In the Navy. Doing the work here. Wait, that's lethal, right?
Yes, that is lethal.
Is it enough credits? Yeah,
Yes,
he needs
that's
to
lethal.
utilize the
That is
combined
it.
arms. Yeah.
Pancake takes it 2-0 against Morphling.
The other way around.
Decisive
Morphling
2-0.
won 2-0.
Sorry, Morphling takes it decisive 2-0 against Pancake, and that's 2 pretty strong 2-0s here. Morphling and J King progressing themselves to the next round, and that was, I mean, that was something.
That was really impressive there. That first match where Morphling spotted the lethal, that was not too obvious, but the Wildebeest combo there together with the Pioneer Company, really well seen and well deserved win. And we will see Morphling in the second match today in the semifinals. But before that, we give it back to Thanatron and Cornguy. And
Yes, I believe we'll be sending it back to our beautiful co-casters.
All right, back with our bracket. We can see our final 4 here for the June Clash top 8. We have J King 7 going up against 66 Better in our first semifinal. And then we have Morphling versus Henry in our second semifinal. So I'm not sure what the bracket predictions threads look like. I haven't really taken a gander, but I'm going to go ahead and say Morphling Henry was not a semifinal that a lot of people had. Good to see some newer players really making their mark. And cool that we also get to maybe see Henry's ramp deck because it's the only one here.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to a lot of things. 66 better versus Berto round one. 66 better gets the better of Berto. Two well-known players. Hate to see Berto go out like this, but you know, the OCC has a lot of big names, and you're gonna run into a buzzsaw eventually. But let's go ahead and see these decks and see, make some ban predictions.
All right. So first we have J King with his Jurfin Hines that we've already seen today. Next up we have his self-credit denial, which I don't believe we've got to see him play. That was banned in his first match. And then we have Push OTK, which we not only saw played, but we saw it absolutely run over a jet deck, I believe. So a strong lineup here from J King.
And looking at 66 better list, we see a standard Japan German aggro list. We see a standard German US mid range. And then we get the US German mid range. So pretty standard, true and tested. I'm interested to see. I'm predicting that he will ban the push OTK and just see what he can get in the the unit based matchups. But we'll have to go see what the bans are.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with your prediction here. What I think is interesting, right? Blitz Doctrine is powerful. We all know Blitz Doctrine's powerful. We're seeing Blitz Doctrine on liner. It's in all of 66 Better's decks. He has a German main, and then he has two German side nations and double Blitz Doctrine in every single deck. So he's clearly recognizing the value of that card. He's clearly playing his lineup based off the value of that card. He's in it for the tanks. He's in it for the Hines. Very cool to see.
All right, so while we're waiting for the bans to come through, I want to talk about the one careless talk in 66 Better's German US list. We see a lot of one-off countermeasures, Noone 5 bringing the one-off stranglehold, but 66 Better bringing the one-off careless talk can definitely catch you. Isn't the strongest, but it's really good in the early game, can catch a lot of stuff and leave you in a good position if the opponent is caught sleeping.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how much it's played around, like from the jump, right? It's one of those things where you can kind of, if you go second, you can play a one drop, and if it doesn't go off, you can be like, oh, they probably don't have it. You'd think that maybe they'd play it on turn one to kind of tilt that initial bit of tempo, that initial bit of pace. And then once they don't have it, you can kind of ignore it until maybe it comes out. Or you can try to play around it constantly, which isn't going to be necessarily great. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, again, open deck lists, right? So uh, it's well known that that's there. It's not. It's if it catches you by surprise, it's generally your fault in these situations, right?
Another interesting thing is the shifting attack in this German
Yeah.
list from 66 Better. Now, what do you think would be the best card he could use the shifting attack with?
So I think that shifting attack is a super interesting card. Obviously, your first thought is that Comet, right? Your first thought is that for 8k, you can do 8 damage to face by just 2 Comets in the same turn. Comet with no op costs, you're not paying for flying the plane, so you just guarantee that 8 damage. But I think that it does even better when it can generate a lot of value, such as like a third 20 Panzergren, or even something like uh, a second something with a really good right deployment effect, quite obviously. So maybe kind of just limited to 20 Panzer or Comet as I look through the list out
I want
of
to see it
true
used
great
on.
ones.
I like to see it used on a production order bomber. How about you?
Yeah, it could get wildly crazy up to that level as well. You could also see it on things like I don't not in this matchup presently, but like doing something like a Flampanzer with shifting attack against a Berto deck can also be extremely powerful, right? Talking about like turn 5 killing 2 maybe buffed 1 drops can really swing that kind of game as well. So uh tons of different things that could go on and especially with the tanks are eventually going to get buffed with these Blitz Doctrine decks, so it's just a matter of when. Do you get lucky and both Blitz Doctrines are bottom 10 in the deck, and you don't really have to worry about it for the majority of the game, or are they going to get them in their mulligan and basically every tank is going to receive those buffs? And it's probably the latter.
Yeah, it definitely just a lot of interesting things here. I do like the one-off White Death.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us now, we are in our semifinals here, our first semifinal against J King and 66 Better. Looks like J King has banned 66 Better's US list and the push OTK being banned by 66 Better. So both of us, Corn, kind of thought that that was the most probable option, and it looks like that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, banning the US list of 66 Better, pretty standard. It's very well rounded. So let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Now, we're gonna see two Germanys and two Japan lists here. Um, so it's gonna come down to can we get some outplays? There's gonna be some probability on who gets some better draws, but there's still certainly plenty of room to see some outplays here, especially considering J King on the self credit denial Jagro list, whereas 66 is just bringing standard Jagro list here without the self credit denial elements. That Out of the Mist going to be interesting to see how it comes into play here. If we do get this Japan mirror match between these two semifinalists.
Yeah, the difference in Jagger decks super interesting, right? We have J King playing a Jagger that is completely based on new tech. It's running a lot of new cards. Its entire engines and everything it wants to do is steeped within those new cards, that new self-credit denial mechanic. And 66 Better going with much more traditional, right? We've seen like a more control style, like full Jalvage, but we've also seen just a Jagro that takes just a couple out of the mists, not really for the salvage so much as for just that ping damage, although sometimes grabbing those units is super effective as well. So
Oh boy.
yeah, we're gonna get it right off the bat. It's like we knew everything we talked about. So let's
So
see the supremacy for Jagro mechanics.
there is an important discussion to be had revolving the self-credit denial. As you know, the self-credit denial has been very popular deck after this new expansion, and so what I'm trying to bring up is SKD is its abbreviation. Self-credit denial is the archetype. A lot of people like to take that abbreviation and make funny things. So J King 7 submitted his self-credit nihilist as somewhat kind of dank. So those people in chat, if you have a
Your
alternative
own self-credit
SKD,
denial.
yeah,
It's a
that is,
problem that J King should probably bring fully dank decks to the OCC. So we'll have to see if that works out for him.
he
Choosing
did.
again to skip his turn. Nothing to do with the Jaeger. Can't draw off of it and does not want to deny his credits quite yet. I think that's what a lot of self-credit denial players need to kind of learn as this deck becomes more meta and really starts to dominate, is that just because you can deny your credits doesn't mean that you should, especially on those first couple turns.
And as this match develops, 6-6 better looks strong, but J King has a lot of answers. I do want to say the cosmetics game here is pretty strong. We got J King on the 350 Japan card back, 66 better on a beautiful Japan Air camouflage list with the katana. J King had better think twice about shooting 6-6 better with that pistol board prep, because 6-6 better is going to slice that bullet midair with the katana.
738 Jaeger Regiment is cool to salvage. Can maybe get a draw off that. Could be quite useful for 66 better. Isn't that pistol a like regular table prop? Isn't that just like the base one? Or is it the fancy one? You'd think J King would come out with, something a little nicer.
True.
There are people watching J King.
True. No one brought the watch today so far. Gotta say that.
Yeah, no watches.
No watches.
Interesting here. 66 better thinking about going for the Jaeger play. Looks like he chose to just go for face damage and isn't too concerned about getting the draw off it. I'm not sure if that was a matter of him maybe miscounting a little bit there, or fully recognizing that he did not care about the draw and just wanted a blitz body into the front line. Not sure, but it's got a nice little board here. Can definitely do some damage with it.
We
Jagger
gotta
moves fast.
put the brakes on that, because J King has this board clear desperate measures. 66 better, basically hoping against hope that he doesn't have it, but he does.
So
J
yeah,
King
66 better had a nice little board.
J King has been just, the cards have blessed him today. He has, if he's needed it, he's had it, and he's had strong hands. 66 better, certainly not out of it yet, but these units bearing down on him, growing with each self-credit denial, are very threatening. 0 operation cost for some big bodies here. And
Yeah, the
66
fifth
better.
regiment's looming large for sure. What's also interesting is he's forced to give J King the credit reduction at some point, whether it's this turn or next turn, which is going to take that one roof down from 5 damage, or 5 cost to 4 cost. So maybe smart to not do it now, but J King obviously can do it himself, and you got to figure that J King can start one roofing next turn.
Yeah, these 5th regiments are kind of unassuming when you look at them by themselves. You get the new expansion, you're like, ooh, what's the new cards? They don't pop off the screen, but when you synergize them with a full self-credit denial list, like we're seeing from the J King, they can grow. They can get out fast. They, there's
Let me
just a
tell you,
lot.
the Jake is dastardly. Being able to buff the entire board for probably very cheap and probably something you were going to do anyway, whether you had the Jake out or not, can just be absolutely devastating. J King with excellent play around bombing raid here as well. He's got his big boy 5th regiments on the ends here like goalposts.
Yeah, one roof with the discount is being able to be played next turn by J King.
Who's already at 12 out of 15 damage even after this raiding brigade goes off, right? So really only looking for pretty good. Pretty good.
Definitely prioritize taking that out so it can't grow.
Very smart play by 66 better, recognizing that Jake is definitely the problem. And honestly, not a great roof for J King. He's still firmly in control, I'd say, but
I mean, look at this. He has 10 damage on board, looking to try to find some more. He could put 66 down to 5 health, and he will choose to.
and
Man,
there's certainly no way that 66 better can really do anything about this. He
wow.
a little lucky the one roof didn't draw into something better, but yeah, pretty irrelevant. Thinking about killing his own for the draw. Not
Blitz
helpful.
Doctrine. 66 is better. Just show me something new. And wow.
Thinking did show up something new because that's one of the first big
Wow, dude.
SKD monumental wins in televised here. So big
Someone
self
check
credit
J
denial.
King's PC, dude. He is playing like he needs this money to buy the watch prop. I don't know. He's a man on a mission today. Hopefully, someone can slow him down in this next match.
So 66 better now, going against the Finnish Hinds, going against these Lotus Fards and all of these tanks. So kind of thinking how he wants to approach that. Does he want to sort of mirror it? No, chooses to try to maybe go faster than the Hinds deck with his Jagro.
Yeah, but it's one thing to go fast. It's another thing to have the Nasha just feeding you value here. It's definitely the card J King needed to compete with a fast Jagro start. 66 better, catching no breaks. J King just drawing like an artist.
We do see this commit the reserves card in 66 better's hand. It does do self-credit denial. It will deny 66 better a credit, but he is not running self-credit denial. So you may be thinking, like, isn't that an SKD card? What's it doing here? There's a lot of people that are just finding the value of that card. It is quite ridiculously hard removal at 2. Obviously, you have to have the amount of credits matching the attack of the thing that you are trying
Wow.
to take out, but it is beautiful removal. So you should expect to see it in a lot more than just self-credit denial. And yeah, I thought it was going to be used to kill the Noksha, but a really, really nice raiding brigade draw.
Yeah, getting rid of that Nasha is huge. I'm glad to see that it was prioritized. J King just concedes, like, you know what, I don't have any credit value. Let me just play Contest Doctrine to get insane value from my tank list. Talking about bringing dank lists, J King really bringing a dank tank list over here.
66 thinking his turn through here. Some more small removal. Plenty of 1 or 2 cost tanks. So that sudden strike should not struggle to find a target. Thinking about it now, which is interesting, could have maybe thought about waiting a little bit until J King sank a buff into that
Wow.
card beforehand, but okay with just ripping it. And yeah, wow again. J King drawing a Flam Panzer. Easily could take out that pesky TK early. But chooses to just do that with good old 3A, good old 2A. I can't remember which one that is.
66 really would love to see some draw here. I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, where are
But
my
he,
expansions?
you know, he's making do with what he has. He's trading well. Oh my! I thought that commit reserve misclicked on his own unit there for a second.
Oh, he does have J King down to 9 health. So you know it's not nothing. But like you said, he is want for draw.
Yeah, J King, surprising he doesn't have grief right now the way he's drawing, or Greif. But these tanks are coming out large and in charge with this contest doctrine, but they're not,
They're coming out
necessarily having.
slow as well, though, which is a
Yeah,
problem.
66 better says you have the card advantage in hand, but I have the board advantage, and I would like to keep that, sir. I would like to just win. If we could just have a match 3, that would be great.
Does not look like J King has any way to do more than take 1 unit off 66 Better's board here, which means that he is going to be taking a minimum of 6 damage to his 9 health. Oh, of course, the Flam Panzer, we mentioned that earlier, so yeah, definitely going to kill 2 units.
Expansion.
Oh, and the expansion ripped off the top to the Blitzkrieg.
What a heart of the cards moment.
Good night. Excuse me, indeed.
Excuse me.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Dude, J King has finally been slowed down.
Yeah, keep drawing good, big guy.
What a
show you how
heart
to
of the
draw
cards
good.
moment, dude.
Let me show you how to draw good, says 66. That was
Yeah.
incredible.
Show me something new. I'll show you something new.
I
All
have
right.
desperate measures, and I'm not even desperate. I don't need them.
Down to Germany, Finland versus Germany, US.
Yeah, what do you
A
think? This
battle.
is sort of like a mirror, right? It's not a true mirror, but this is two Heinz-ish credit. I'm not credit.
Wow.
Heinz-ish doctrine decks.
Heinz's Doctrine decks, indeed.
Who do you give
Interesting
the
start.
advantage to here?
Um,
Deck-wise,
I
not player-wise, right? Just this matchup.
I think it's pretty situational. It really depends on who can get the most free stuff cranked out. Can
That's a good point.
J King get a wide board and just buff it or just reduce operation cost with the finish order? Can 66 better get this early tempo with War Machine into a Greif? Now, an important note here: neither of them are running momentum to just get a turn 4 clogging the front line.
That is not an important note. Disagree. We'll see. Very interesting here as 66 better gets that turn 2 ramp, that turn 2 War Machine. J King is going to rely on this Noxshib here for free credits and the 3 Lotus Fards to get all those 1 ops for free ops. So as you mentioned here, who can get the most stuff for free? We have a free credit to 66 better already, and nothing on the board for J King to mine some free money. So interesting. And I got to imagine the Flam here comes out to just say, no thanks, we're doing this.
Consider the M10 on the
Yeah, actually,
just clog
I
them.
like M10 better. As you said, that's a 0-4 in your support line. That is worthless and very expensive to move out. It is a pain in the batoot. Also
Yeah,
going with the tempo play here, not waiting for doctrine. Could think that if he doctrines and doesn't put out a unit, then Noxshib's not going to take any money anyway. There's nothing to kill to generate Noxshib dollars. And then he can do that next turn with a buffed M10, which I think is maybe the route that I would like. What do you think about that?
I think both of them are fine. I think what you don't want to see happen here is J King just build a big support line and then get a huge value from that from that finish order. And keep in mind, he one contest doctrine procrastination is fine because he has that war machine for that extra credit. So he is, he has a little bit of flexibility to play that and, not lose the tempo because he has the extra credits to play with.
Also gets him 4 face damage.
I'll take 4 face damage if you give me 4 face damage.
And no one's ever looked twice at 4 face damage. J-King coming with more small tanks, only buffed this time. The 23rd Panzergren, a card that is not seen a ton, but giving a permanent +2 attack buff to tanks on the board, especially in this deck, can act almost like a blitzkrieg coming out of a unit deployment, which can really throw you. So he's actually got to watch out for that next turn. That would be some damage.
Yeah, getting a lot of value from this finish order. Um, and not just the credit reduction, but the extra health allows him to trade and makes it more difficult to trade into. But the Flampanzer doesn't care about that extra health. J-King, this turn 5, to see what he can do, could be a big turning point because he could lock up the front line here. But
Is that his second or third Sfard already? I know that we've seen one Sfard.
That would be the second.
Second, so only 3 of those in the whole deck. Finding 2 of them sort of in the top, top third, that could bode very well.
Now,
Permanently changing your board to operate for free is such a big deal.
While J-King is thinking what he wants to do on this crucial turn, one thing to point out, we're not seeing a lot of Leopold.
That's true. You'd think that people could run that as a top end ender, just as maybe get out of jail free. Maybe just that huge swing of clearing the board back to their hand, giving you a chance. But very slow, right? Very slow indeed.
Yeah.
So seems like most of the community has decided that the tempo just not quite there for that.
True.
Second doctrine for 66 better, such a big deal here. If J-King's second doctrine is too low in his deck, especially since Noxia has already been suppressed, then that could just be what 66 better needs. That could be just those extra ticks, those extra blips of value that J-King just won't be able to outdo.
Yeah, that just having 8 credits to be able to go Doctrine, Contest, Tank, Trade, get the front line. J-King does not, that's not what you want to see. However, he will be able to trade it out. But with 2 Contest Doctrines stacked, 66 better.
As you locked on, as soon as this thing started, you said, who can get more stuff for free? And 66 better not only was like, I'm going to ramp ahead, which isn't necessarily getting stuff for free, right? But like at some point, it's like, I have more money than I should, which is sort of the same net value. And then also your attempt at that, I'm taking that away. I'm just, Shub, your Shub comes out, it's only present for 2 turns. You're never making $1 off it. Now it's suppressed. Now it's a roadblock. So really, really great for 66 better on kind of both ends of the spectrum money-wise.
Yeah, and man, this match, is definitely what the viewers paid to see. This is some fun cards being played right here. Some interesting decisions.
And if J-King gets all 3 of those fards off, Noxia will finally move for only 1. Big
crucial.
Things.
Very crucial point there. Wow. If 66 better can deal with this board, he's going to be in a good spot. J-King's hand looks kind of heavy, kind of slow. 66 better. Where are these tanks at? He has the tank production value. Wow.
Really nice play here. Yep, to get that bomber buffed up. Gonna kill Greif with the research, and J-King just left with a bit of drawing infantry that's gonna be too slow. Panzergrens, though, huge here.
Yeah, his bomber will be addressed. Now 66 better. Can he get some tanks to re-swing this momentum? His tanks in hand are very heavy. You know, he has ooh. The Mafia has been called here.
The Havoc is going to be really helpful as well. We just went from only clearing 1 unit to clearing 2 units.
Yeah, and although that Nashub has suppressed it, is a good flying fortress deterrent.
Yeah, it also works out as constant infantry, right? 66
No
better.
way!
Oh, the shifting attack!
Oh, wow!
Deployment effect makes the op cost free both times. A incredible note. We talked about shifting attack, and not a single person was like, Havoc.
Yeah. what a cool play here. J-King loves to see that.
J-King with just so much value in his hands, the 2 Panzergrens just netting him so much. That's 4 extra cards to hand. So it would look so much bleaker. His resources would look so thin. But instead, not too worried. Hipper, though, huge. Take all those buffs off of 35T. Stunt the draw, stunt the credits. Widens now from 3 to 4, or 2 to 3, I'm sorry.
Not as much tempo as you'd think, because there is a combined arms in hand. You know, there is the contest doctrines buffing it. An interesting choice. You know, he still has 8 credits. That denial of the credit slot isn't the biggest deal. J-King definitely looks like he's in the driver's seat right now. 66 better is going to need to get probably another bomber mafia. Get something rolling here, because J-King's definitely rolling right now with his 35Ts just chugging along at the HQ.
Yeah, it would have been really nice to kill him, but Hipper certainly slowed the process. I have to imagine that we need to draw off of our For Freedom here. We probably need to draw off of our Panzer as well.
Yeah, 66 not getting the best tanks from his Blitz Doctrine, Contest Doctrines. Getting some heavy stuff, actually. Jaeger Regiment certainly appreciated.
J-King holding the White Death as well, holding the Panzergrens to get all of these tanks up to 5 damage.
Putting the Jaeger Regiment on his own unit and not the enemy unit to get that draw. The third Savard will reduce this Nasham to 1 operation cost.
That's the real game that has been happening. But yeah, this is we're getting pretty close here. Obviously, 66 better with basically enough damage to kill J-King. So J-King either needs to win on this turn, or he has to make some trades. 66 better with a lot of damage in his backline that's quite mobile.
66 better does have 1 copy of Blitzkrieg that J-King certainly is considering, not allowing him to get value from. Doesn't know it's not in hand.
And this big White Death, is it coming out now? We're going to drop 2 points of attack off all of these tanks. 2 health off of the Panzer in the back as well, which was looking like it was going to serve as a nice roadblock. And yeah, do not forget about that infantry with Death Touch. Now it's really starting to look like J-King has complete control.
If he gets them low enough, that autocannon certainly is a factor, being able to do some ping damage here, but 66 better is going to have a good counterattack this turn. Starting off with this tank coming out as a 6/6, no slouch.
Yeah, and I would think that the For Freedom needs to go on the 2/4, kind of set up that beefy unit into the front.
No doubt. Wow! Coming out as a 6/4 on your doorstep. 66 better. Is he gonna float it? No, he's gonna say, Jaking, you're at 2.
Yeah, very
Have
close
fun.
to lethal even. I don't think that it was quite there, but obviously with 2 health, it clearly wasn't far off. Now, J King going from looking great to looking grim. This has been very back and forth.
Throwing down.
Autocannon takes something out of the front, or I'm sorry, gets him a damage on the HQ. The Flampanzer takes something out of the front line. Finally out of Nokshabland. And unfortunately, that will be it. Cannot formulate it. We see those
Wow.
Panzergrens never coming out to buff those tanks, and 66 better, defeating J King and cementing himself into the finals here. What a match.
That is what you came here for, folks. That was some good tank gameplay. That was the Battle of the Bulge at the finest. That was everything you've hoped for from a tank showdown between two great cards players. Pleasure to watch. Pleasure to cast with you, my friend.
Absolutely. That was fantastic. And me and Cornguy, the Team Heavy booth, will be back with you in the finals. But we have one more great semifinal coming up, and we are going to go to our beautiful European announce team to bring on the bracket.
And there we have it. 66 better taking a 2-1 against J King. And now we have Morphling up against Henry. We have not seen Henry's decks on stream yet, so this will be the first time seeing Henry's decks. We did see the Morphling 2-0, which the brilliant European casters casted earlier.
Yeah, definitely excited to see Henry's decks in action because there's some pretty cool stuff there in the Japan, Finland kind of salvage deck. So I think we just take a look at those decks quickly before we start into the match. So let's start with Henry's list here. Henry with Brit US Ramp, a really interesting list here. A lot of like ramp cards with the War Machine. America at War is a really cool card that offers you ramp and draw at the same time, at least as long as you're having a decent amount of credit slots already gained over time. And then you just have all those very strong Brit control tools, 4 times Glamour Voice. So a really control heavy list and very heavy there and ramp in it. Then we have the deck that I already spoke about, a really interesting Japan, Finland salvage deck. That I think
Did you
yeah.
mention the Grand Plans combo in this deck?
In the Brit deck,
In the Japan deck.
the Grand Plans.
So we
yeah.
have Grand Plans and Sally,
Yeah.
so it guarantees to find the One Roof and Shiden.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of the combo that you're looking for, like Shiden into not expansion, Dawn Operation, and then the Great Expanse. And so this is a kind of OTK list that you are looking for with the Shiden. But scrap metal can help you to regain some credits after you lost them with the self-credit denial. Interesting list. Have you played it already? Or something similar?
I haven't played it, but I've sat in a Discord call and watched other people play it for countless hours.
So the goal is to play the Shiden with the Great Expanse together to buff the Shiden to infinite.
Yeah, so
and
that is your OTK win con, and you can consistently find the One Roofs and the Shiden with the Grand Plan Sally combo. Then you do have 15th Cavs and Type 94, so you do have the potential to just be a very aggressive deck as well. It's a lot of fun to watch. And when it works, it's really entertaining.
Okay, so we're definitely hoping this is not getting banned, so we might see it in action. And then the final list is that German US kind of mid-range deck that we've seen a few times. Has the cool combo in it with, oh no, actually no shifting attack in that one. But other than that, I think it's just, yeah, triple half track is interesting because, yeah, probably the only good tool to remove stuff like the Glamour Boys. So definitely, yeah, also a cool list here. But I mean, maybe they do not have shifting attack, but because I really, really like that combo shifting attack into Comet, but probably not able to craft it yet, but definitely looking forward in the
It is
future.
slightly disagreed upon, though. Not all the players are using shifting attack, which is interesting. There seems to be a line in the middle of the sand, and half the people are using shifting attack, and half of them are just unconvinced by it and think there are more important cards to run.
Yeah, I think especially when you play Bomber Mafia, because as we just saw earlier, Havoc into shifting attack into redeploying Havoc is 4 damage. And I can remember one match where I actually lost to that combo. So I can see people not putting shifting attack in, but I think especially with the Comet, it has some really, really cool synergy.
With the Bomber Mafia, if you get it with a production auto bomber, with one of with the Blitz B24, you can do a lot of damage with that. If you have the Nashub, that's 9k for 12 damage, which is
Yeah.
just ridiculously good.
Absolutely, yes. And I'm excited to see how this eventually just plays out.
And then we have Morphling's decks going up against Henry. We see German US, which is, of course, a mid range deck. We have USA Germany, which is once again a mid range deck. And then we have Britair with Enemy Spotted. I don't want to spend too long on any of these. We took a good look at Henry's decks because we hadn't seen these before in a match, but we've seen Morphling not too long ago. We know what's going on here, and I'm excited to see what gets banned. I hope this Japan deck from Henry gets through. Oh no.
No.
This means, and we have to be impartial here, but this means Henry has to win because we need to see this Japan deck in action.
Yeah, I want to say I'm kind of rooting for Morphling here from very, very dominant impression in the first round here. But now that they banned Henry's Japan deck, I'm kind of rooting for Henry now. So yeah, interested to see how the matches go. So what was the other ban there? What did Henry
Germany,
ban?
so it'd be a Germany mid-range deck. Because if
Germany
you see
mid-range
Germany at the moment, it's mid-range. If you see US, it's also mid-range. This does mean Henry's ramp deck gets through, which could be a lot of fun to see. We've not seen ramp being as popular, but you have quite a few slow value decks at the moment. We see a frontline using things like War Machine. So you might better just outvalue these decks. It's just it can be quite difficult to do that when they have cards like Blitz Doctrine. Now we see the US Germany mid range against the Germany US mid range. It is
Okay.
almost a mirror. Morphling having quite a strong start here. Again, finding the War Machine going first with an aggressive hand. And Henry finding the opposite of an aggressive hand there.
Eridu is a good one drop here to find the War
Finds
Machine.
the War Machine.
Great.
That is really nice. It's going to let Henry keep up with Morphling, but Morphling now
Found the
finds the
99.
99.
That's already a big threat there in the front line.
Henry's just got the ramp. He doesn't really have too much choice. We may see For Freedom come out and just keep buffing this single unit. However, it's not too bad when the unit you've buffed with For Freedom gets killed because you've already drawn a card off it. You don't feel this big blowout you would feel with something like a Cass or a Combined Arms.
Yeah,
Look at this, Henry's down to 11 already.
What is going on? This
No.
164 is really applying a lot of early damage here.
Can you afford to go for this V1? I don't know if you can. You might need to go for the half track. And if you go with the V1, you have a 50-50 chance of buffing this tank in the front line. It's 35T. And then what does your next turn look like? It's just... This feels really, really difficult now for Henry. And Morphling, just such an aggressive opener. What would the 1 damage be for? What's he trying to set up there? Maybe a Jaeger?
Yeah, probably one of the one attack,
It
like the Jäger
also
Regiment,
means actually, if the buff lands on the 35T, you can finish it off with the 2/2 tank. You're not left with a 3/3. And the war machine on top. Now, I wonder if the correct move. Let's think about this. Do you just go for the hipper? You're guaranteed to take 5 damage on board, and you're going up to 6 credits. And then no, you're pretty much guaranteed to be dead at that point. You can't afford to
Yeah.
go for the hipper. You
Yeah,
have to
I
go for the V1.
I think you could afford it if you could also operate the half track, but I think at this point
Yeah.
you can't really leave 3 units on board for your opponent.
So you have to go V1 flying bomb. You're left with 2 credits.
Ooh,
Oh no!
risking it for the biscuit.
But that is, unless you top deck a new card, I believe you're guaranteed to be dead. Or almost guaranteed, right? Because now we see this comes out. And without the Jaeger, it's still a big problem. Because you have to think
Okay.
to yourself, how am I trading? And where are these buffs going? If the buff hits anything other than the 35T, you're in trouble. But with the sudden strike instead,
There's not lethal yet. 35T
Not
can be
lethal
taken
yet.
out with the V1 flying bomb.
you need to take out this Jaeger and not the unit it's pincered to. Now, I assume Morphling, or not pincer, sorry. I assume Morphling has targeted the 1/1, as this would enable a 35. Wait! He just gave him the draw.
And that's lethal with the
And
99.
that gives him lethal.
That was exactly
Oh,
the draw.
no. Giving him the Jaeger draw kills him. Henry, oh no. And that gives Morphling a
Yeah, you-
speedy 1-0.
Probably
Now
wanted to
Henry.
avoid 1 more damage there, but at this point I think it doesn't really matter if you had 1 HP or 2 HP. And that 1 draw less would have made that there was no 99s and no lethal there in Henry and Morphling's hand.
It would have given him a fighting chance. And now Henry, up against Britair, has Germany mid-range, which is a very strong deck against Britair. You sort of feel favoured there. In this ramp deck, I don't have enough experience with this ramp deck to know how Britair matches. Because Britair has a lot of burn right now. It has a lot of tempo, but it also has a lot of value. You've got the convoys, but you also have the sea embargoes. And we see Henry with the hand to look for against Britair. You've got the Nashub, you've got the Iradu, you've got the sudden strikes, and you even have the stars and stripes to finish it off. This is as close to his hand as you could want. Maybe chuck a half track in if you're feeling special, but this is nearly the perfect anti-Britair hand.
Morphling also with quite a strong starting hand here. Double Gladiator and a Swordfish.
It shouldn't matter. If you go for the Nashub, you can trade and ramp on the same turn. Doesn't really matter what you're buffing because you're just going to sudden strike it later. I mean, Morphling undoubtedly would have been happy with his hand, not realizing what's on the table for Henry.
Close air support coming in huge here. Deciding not to go for it yet, since he could not operate 2 of those airplanes if they played the close air support.
Go for the sudden strike, and then can also look for the Flampanzer. And if you find a 35T or a Flampanzer, you can take out 2 air units instead of 1. You may as well go for the develop first.
That's what I like so much about the Blitz doctrine. It's so versatile. You can play it in so many decks, in so many situations. If you need a Flampanzer, just look for it. If you need a Panzer 2A, you can try to look for that. I really like this card. Maybe
I would have liked to see develop the doctrine first, as you still have the credits to play the sudden strike, and it's sort of like drawing. You always want to draw first. If you can afford it, develop first. As a rule of thumb. Obviously, there are cases where this isn't the truth, but just as a general rule of thumb, you should treat develop like card draw, and if you can afford to do it first, then it is the way to go.
So what do you do if you're Morphling? Are you trying to get in the draw or keep
Guess
the
he's just
pressure
going
up?
aggressive, try and beat down Henry as much as possible, maybe get it so that this Bomber Mafia can close out the game. 4 damage, nothing to be sniffed at. Puts Henry down to 13, but Henry finds the Iradu.
And the second bomber up, yeah.
Oh,
Ooh.
King Tiger. Don't take it, but you know you want to.
The good old times where King Tiger was viable.
Well, interestingly, if you are playing this deck and you get matched up against a push OTK deck, if you take a King Tiger and just leave it in your support line, you're almost guaranteed the win. With no Monsoon Rot, number 9 commandos can't target it to put it down to 1 HP. If you can afford to get it out before you die, just put the King Tiger down and look at the push OTK deck and laugh.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Hands of Grenadiers is a very tempting option, but 22nd and Jaeger both offer good card draw. It looks like the Jaeger is going to be the priority here. Targets his own unit, meaning if Morphling kills this this Panzer IIA, Henry will draw cards. Just to explain this Jaeger to anyone that's not played the game in a while, is coming back after a bit of a break because the expansion is here. What this Jaeger allows you to do is you pick any other unit, you target any other unit on the battlefield, and when that unit dies, you draw a card. Now, if Jaeger dies first, you do not get the card draw. However, if they die at the same time, you often do get the card draw. So you pick another target on the battlefield, and you use that as a way to draw. Look at
Morphling
this.
trying to win the base race here.
The question is, do you go Stars and Stripes or Bomber Mafia? I think Stars and Stripes is the way, but you do want to potentially find some healing off the Bomber Mafia because you can get the 2 HP Bomber, and you know that little difference in HP could be the difference between life and death in this matchup. But there's
Which
no
one
need
is
to
there?
rush it. It gives
Which
you a
two?
gunship mission.
Ah, this one. Yeah, it's 5k,
Gives you a
right?
gunship mission, and that can. I mean, it's expensive. You're spending 2k on Bomber Mafia, 5k on the Bomber, and 2k on the gunship mission. You're spending 9 credits for 2 health, but sometimes 9 credits for 2 health is the best thing you can do.
Oh, unexpected resistance a little bit too late here.
Yes, it really is. I mean, you can still hit some valuable targets with it, but with the front line like this, Henry isn't going to mind too much.
Not
It
going
looks
for
like
the Bomber Mafia yet, since there's one. Wait, it could
Bomber
have played
Mafia
it, right?
could find lethal next turn. It is possible. If you find the production order Bomber with the Pioneers on board, it will be playable straight away. The Bomber Mafia straight into it.
Oh, and there's the half track.
Half track needs to bounce the Pioneer to stay alive. Or even then, no, it wouldn't matter because Morphling's going to go to 8 credits. You can play Pioneer, go for the Bomber Mafia.
Nice.
Oh, it would matter. It would 100% matter.
Really played well around the countermeasure here.
Well, let's see. Bomber Mafia. We'll see if there's a snap pick. Oh, there it is.
Oh!
Had to bounce the
Wow.
Pioneer to survive. Finds it.
Wow.
Morphling takes the 2-0 with the Pioneer Bomber Mafia.
Wow. Another very dominant win here for Morphling today.
Morphling is pulling these lethals. You know, there are like situations where we're looking at this and we're thinking, how can Morphling win this? Just find a production order bomber. These bombers are so powerful. They are like the prime things you want to hit off this this Bomber Mafia. There's 8 damage essentially. You got 2 from the Bomber Mafia, 6 from the bomber itself. And you could have bought 1 turn by half tracking this Pioneer. It would have bought you 1 extra turn. But whether that's enough, whether you'd have been a win in that turn because you spent credits on the half track, it's really difficult to to say. At least it's difficult for me to say because I don't have enough of the board state memorized. I'm sure some of our keener players among us will have figured it out and be writing some long angry posts.
So yeah, we will see. Morphling versus 6/6 better in a few minutes, and Thanatron and Cornguy are leading us to the finals. So we are done for today. We're just enjoying the show now, and yeah, we're giving it back to our other lovely co-casters.
All right, we are prepared for the June top 8 OCC finals. We have, as just announced by Spooz and Bubbles, 66 better versus Morphling. This is going to be a first to 3 with no bans, so we are going to see every deck played by the winner, at least, and possibly the loser, depending on how this shakes out. So. Very cool. What are you thinking about going into this finals?
We're here. This is the finals. This is why you grinded all month in May. That's it. I'm just
All right.
here.
It's just here for the intense gameplay. So as Corn is alluding to, not much left to be said. Just gonna get into it here very briefly. Excuse me, with the deck list here. So as we've seen from 66 better, as I've mentioned a couple times today, 3 Blitz Doctrine decks, 3 different flavors, all Doctrine. That's what the man is bringing, and that is what is winning. So kind of taking a note of this new meta, taking a note of what is good, and playing it in all of the decks. Some real big brain stuff really working out for him today. Let's go ahead and have Corn take a look at Morphling.
Yeah, not much needs to be said. Bringing a pretty strong lineup: German, US, US, Germany, and Brit Air. So as we get into these games, I just want to talk about that play by Morphling to get here. What a crazy outcome.
The bomber play in the last game, definitely very wild. I think it's also interesting when you see Morphling's German US there. He's maybe the only player today that brought that deck with that kind of thicker back end. You see a Leopold, as you mentioned earlier, and I believe the first semifinal, right? That basically, why don't a lot more people bring Leopold? Why don't we see more Leopold? Is it too slow, right? So Morphling kind of that thought process that mid-range it out a little bit more, maybe take some of the tempo down, but make that back end a lot harder to get through, a lot more powerful. Perhaps working out for him today, although we
So
haven't seen Leo played.
I don't see the Leopold. I see a Bismarck over there.
Bismarck, sorry, I just saw a 10 cost German card. Made an assumption. So wild, big Bismarck.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
There is an important element to having that 10 cost card too. Not only, is there 7 damage from hand, but also, having a heavy card like that can affect the way that your deck draws.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
We'll have to see what he sort of is able to do, and if he's able to get his war machines out and about.
yeah, and Morphling has checked a lot of boxes for unique ways to win, scoregami, if you will. Um, and Bismarck Lethal is definitely one that he would like to check off in this finals if I was thinking in his shoes.
Yeah, I wonder if we've for our more historical viewers, if we've had a Bismarck lethal in an OCC before. Certainly, probably not in the finals, right? That would be pretty ridiculous. Would be the height of Bismarck's career. So just giving our players a couple minutes here to kind of sort themselves and get ready, especially Morphling, who just came off of a very grueling set. Definitely some high emotions in his last game, right? Pretty back and forth, really snatching a victory. So
Yeah, coming into this finals, I do believe no bands going the full distance best of 5. So we're gonna get to see all those decks, nothing, no hiding behind a ban in the finals. So yeah, it's just gonna be a slugfest out there. True battle of Kursk out here, just tanks going at each other.
Big tank warfare. World of Tank fans
Yeah,
rejoice.
this could be sponsored by World Tanks. This meta. But yeah, let's
All
get
right.
it into it.
Here we go with our initial picks. 66 better starting with his actually both players starting with their German decks.
Wow, 66 sending back the Jaeger regiment. Does not want that. Actually, deciding to keep it. Ooh, wow. Got to give
So
the early lead to 66 better just based on the cards. What do you think?
yeah, I think I might agree. Morphling though going second has or I'm sorry, going first has ramp twice, which could bode pretty well here. Wonder if it's going to take maybe a minute for this game to sort of get going. Interesting. Chooses not to ramp a second time. Going to take care of the Noksha before it's relevant. We're also going to draw off of it. I like that for Morphling.
Going for the anti-ramp. Interesting spot here. Couple different options.
Yeah, really kind of considering if he wants that Panzergren, he could also just take his 15 and get a countermeasure and then perhaps 35T based off of that. Instead, opting for getting the 35T going with the Jaeger Regiment and getting the For Freedom. Gonna draw bigger tank, getting our Blitz Doctrine, really getting the deck working there. Good draw for him.
Morphling hand looks a little slow, but he does have the double credit ramp going for him here.
All right, and 66 better gets into Doctrine first. I wish we should have been taking a running tally of Doctrine first wins. See what the win rate is for the man who doctrines first.
This is a heavy contest pool to choose from. Goes for the lightest option.
That developed brought to you by Team Heavy.
Yeah, you know it. Well,
Really
hey,
considering his turn here, Morphling. Drawing his own
moment,
shoe, but
yeah,
big deal.
moment of tension is Morphling staring down a strong front line and has a good response. You'd have to call.
And finds his doctrine. So now we're cooking. Now we're getting tanks out. Boys are getting buffed. The front line's getting torn apart.
Sun's out, tanks out, as they say.
They do say that. And another bit of ramp to draw even in the credit race.
Now, an interesting thing in this matchup is going to be which countermeasures are developed by this 2K German infantry. That, you could get a lot of value from one of these countermeasures, or you could just have a dead card in hand that you keep spending for. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can get a big value from these countermeasures.
Those Jaegers with 3 health, are really useful for more than just being a blitz infantry or for drawing. Really nice to just sit in the front line, take up a lot of space.
I do
3
believe
health is a lot for those. Sorry for those first those 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. 3 health is a lot for that kind of area.
Wow. I do believe 66 Better did have an opportunity to take a Flampanzer and opted not to, but now he's doesn't have an immediate way to remove the money-making Nashib.
Very interesting, but does grab the Flying Fortress. I have to imagine he is going to kill. No, he wants his 1 damage. You'd think if you're going to take Flying Fortress that you would have maybe tried to set up a 50-50 if Morphling goes for a big unit. However, that's not really how the deck works, so I'm not really sure of the Flying Fortress pick much at all. However, I don't really remember what the other options were. I kind of picked up too
Catalina
fast. So,
and Super Fortress.
well, maybe Flying Fort was the move, although I kind of like Catalina there. They probably kill it, but they got to devote resources, and if they don't kill it, obviously the draw is super helpful. Also doesn't cost your whole dang turn to play it, but
Think
we will
about
see.
Flying
60
Fortress with shifting attack. Sorry, I've been going here,
There you
but I'm
go.
just so excited about the shifting attack. You know, you can get 2 deployments on the Flying Fortress. If it comes down late game, you can destroy 2 units.
This might be where we start to see some countermeasures developed. It appears that 66 Better is on the back foot just a bit here. Although a great Panzergren turn as well, he can make a trade with the infantry and buff the tank to a 5/5, which will, as I do very basic math. Interesting. I don't know that I love this play, but we'll see what 66 is thinking here. Really thought that he was going to buff the Panzer to a 5/5 and then trade out the front line, but going for countermeasure and takes foiled plans and then makes the trades anyway with not a ton of value, but knows that he shan't struggle for a tank for that
Yeah,
combined arms.
that was an interesting turn. You know, you could have seen the combined arms trade. I don't know how much I would agree with that. I don't know. Let me know in the chat what you think, if you what you would have done. But that
Snap
is a
pick. Morphling with a snap pick on his countermeasure for what I believe is hit the drop zone. No, hit the drop zone is 0. I believe that is scatter tactics. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not quite up perfect on the new countermeasures. There are quite a few. Don't think that he wants 2 credits here, so I don't know why he'd make a trade. I imagine he's got to go face.
66 is
Unless he
just
really wants
gotten
to hold up the countermeasure, but that seems a little crazy. No, okay.
not
And
enough.
66 holds up foiled plans instantly. We're getting wacky here with the countermeasures. What if that had been Stranglehold? Like, definitely not playing around Stranglehold here, although I'm not exactly sure how 66 Better possibly could. Scatter tactics going off.
Only 1 credit is floated, so Morphling tests for Stranglehold, although he could have, not much he could have done to not test for it. He could have, I
Yeah,
guess, moved up first and traded. That would have been smart. He definitely did not consider the Stranglehold or play around it.
knows it's not careless either at this point as well, right? So really starting to dial in on the only possibility here. Makes the trade. Autocannon is not allowed to live for sure.
And at this point, you got to be asking yourself, why didn't he just use the Oh, you know
Or
what? He might have now that now that I've seen this play out, do you think he took that 1K German order um to try to catch Bismarck?
that would be extremely nutty. I don't think Morphling is gonna need Bismarck. 66 better, kind of fighting for his life here. And again, I hate to go back or to be overtly critical of a guy who's having such a great day, and making it to a finals here. But that Flying Fortress just sort of stuck in hand. There's never really a great time to play it. It's so expensive. Even the Catalina would have at least needed to be dealt with. Would have at least needed to have some credit spent to kill it. And I think might have been a little better off for him.
Yeah, especially considering the Noshub sticking on board, and really that Noshub to me has to be the answer. We saw Morphling immediately Reich research to remove
Oh no,
the
no! This is the stranglehold turn. You gotta. Oh, it's his only unit. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but with stranglehold active, I was like, "Oh no! Don't shifting attack that. You're gonna lose
it's
so much
over.
money."
It's just done. Although he could shifting attack.
He
No,
gets the
he's
unit
gonna
in the
lose the
front
goods.
line.
That
Yeah, and it's
is
over.
it.
Played into the stranglehold. The countermeasures certainly serving a purpose in that game. Uh, the countermeasures being just sort of in a way not I'm not sure what word I want here, unpreparable, which I'm going to assume is a word. uh Given that in an open list you don't see them, you just see that they're going to develop them at some point, and that develop pool is all of the relevant current in-game countermeasures for Germany, so it can get real rough.
True, true, true. Strong start from Morphling. Um, we're not going to see a Bismarck win, unfortunately. That deck has been checked off. 66 better, looking for a strong response, but Morphling, he has been on a heater. Can 66 catch him? 66 definitely caught J King up. Can he catch Morphling up here?
And some semi-decent anti-air tools. Not the best, but not the worst. The sudden strike is going to be a big deal here. But I think I agree with this play for now. Just take a nice draw, see what we get.
Yep, for sure. And as that decision is made, um, we see. Well, I want to see if Morphling plays into the sea embargo, to which he can punish it, with the sudden strike.
Emperor will be really useful to scrub the buffs off one of those planes as well, but we're a couple turns from that, depending on how this shakes out, could need something far before then. And we'll see the sudden strike come out. 2-5, pretty big for a bomber. Let's just get rid of that now. But Kitty Hawk and Shark and Albacore are all cards, all planes that are going to be able to really mess these tanks up before they get started. So good draws for Morphling here. He
Morphling
goes. Sorry, go ahead.
Morphling getting to go first here is really big because he is being able to command the tempo, not allowing 6-6 better to War Machine just because he has too many threats coming out fast.
And it is kind of interesting, a little micro decision there that he chose to be credit efficient, right? He could have very easily used the Albacore. He only needed 1 damage to make that kill of the Jaeger regiment in the front line. Chose to overkill it with the 2 damage from the Kitty Hawk. And obviously 1 damage, not really a whole
Wow.
lot. Ooh, it makes
Wow.
him
Oh,
lose his comet. I don't
Morphling.
know. I don't know that I would have even giving
Oh,
someone Panzergren back even
no.
for the mill doesn't seem that great until you see them mill Comet.
Oh man.
That is a lovely play. He's literally throwing out autocannon just to try to survive.
Morphling
Please
is the
kill my
protagonist.
autocannon.
He's the protagonist of this. He has plot armor. Can anyone trip him up?
So let's see. He could just use the shark. He could of course he could just cast, then obviously 2 planes can kill it quite easily. And maybe saving a lot. He could also just albacore and go face. But no, yeah, instead chooses kill it. Let's get some face damage in. And now 66 better has to run to this racetrack.
He is running for sure. This is about as gross as you could find. You know, Caesar's better is putting up a good fight. There is a possibility where Morphling just draws dead here. For 6/6 better to come back, but he has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, nice efficient dive bombing.
Ooh, see embargo.
And of course, albacore into shark will kill that 35T without having
Oh.
to actually use any kind of uh, combat with its units. And now Barracuda also able to not only do half of its health, but freeze it for a turn. Instead, chooses it just needs out. Oh, albacore. That is a big pickup.
We're gonna have to
And
see the hipper come down. We have to see it. There it goes. It's a
yeah,
big
and
hipper.
66. It is. 66 also getting a nice tank down and a little bit of draw. That is a Blitzkrieg play piece. That is also important to get that out.
Wow.
Yeah,
9
tenuous.
health. I don't can't kill him this turn with the shark. Can't do it. What is he gonna do? Is he going to allow this Blitzkrieg to come off?
Barracuda Shark Wellington is 4, 5, 6, 7 of 9 damage. Does he go face? He does.
Does.
But a big bomber mafia is going to make this more
Oh no.
complicated.
Wellington Barracuda is 6.
Wellington Barracuda is 6. It's not going to matter. Going to need 2 turns. Giving 66 some time. He does not need 2 turns if he doesn't kill the
Oh man.
Wrath Lightning. So he's got to kill the Wrath Lightning.
I'm on the edge of my seat right now. This is tense.
And honestly, the 2 health from the gunship mission could be huge here. Yeah, I like this play. Grabs the gunship mission, 2 health, destroys the raft. I didn't notice that was the plane that he got from the. So yeah,
No,
very big play.
wow. That 2 damage comes back
The
from the
plot armor. The plot
What?
armor. What is happening? Immediately draws the actual Kitty Hawk, not the
What are
developed
these
Kitty Hawk.
plays? What are
Has
these
8
plays?
damage. Has 8 damage from hand.
Bomber
He can't do it all
Mafia.
at once.
What are we watching here, Thanatron?
He can't do it all at once. He's got to figure out how he wants to piecemeal this together. I don't know, however, why you wouldn't Kitty Hawk and Barracuda face both and then just let him try. The other thing, though, is that there's the Blitzkrieg. There is a Blitzkrieg, and there is, only 12 health on old Morphling's HQ. So the time frames are really important. And honestly, with Panzer Gun in hand, and he knows that Panzer Gun is in hand. Yeah, it says that he doesn't have the time. Does go face. Does go face
Wow.
with Kitty Hawk. So much can matter. So many little pieces of order. So
Oh,
many micro
man.
decisions can tilt this a lot
Oh,
of different
man.
ways here. We could see the board easily cleared here with the tack strike and the bomber.
Oh.
We could see a shifting attack
Oh.
on the 35T.
To clear the Barracuda?
There's no doctrine yet, correct? That's still a 2-2.
But with the infantry.
with the infantry. But yeah, now thinking Blitzkrieg
No.
gets him 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but he can't run the
Oh,
bomber. He can't afford it. And he's going
no.
5 and 4 is 9, 10, 11.
Oh,
I can't do
60
math. He got it. 8 and 4. Oh my goodness.
66 finds that lethal.
Finding. Yeah, great lethal. My puny brain was looking at too many angles and was immediately overwhelmed. Not so much for 66 better. Says the plot armor allows you to draw lethal, but I do not allow you to play it.
Yes, that hipper was huge, denying the draw, sending a huge lightning back. Man, that hipper was very timely.
Yeah, what a set
Wow.
this is shaping up into being. Both players feeling like Germany is maybe their best deck. Both starting German mirror, and then obviously 66 sticking to his German deck.
A bead of sweat drops down Morphling's face right now, dude. He is human in this June OCC.
He has finally been seen bleeding.
Wow. Unexpected resistance. Gonna be a fun card here. But
Yeah,
not yet.
a lot of interesting things for that to get, and almost assuredly a kill. Of course, the countermeasure will pin whatever moves into the front line, but if it has blitz, it will also destroy it. So basically, almost everything in 66 Better's deck that's going to be taking a front line is going, and now trying to bait it. Maybe being a little too obvious, Morphling. I'm not quite sure, but an interesting ploy nonetheless by not moving his free op infantry up.
And and this strat bomb is gonna be huge, especially since he's ramped once already. He's gonna get it out potentially turn 5. That credit denial.
Creating a 2 credit gap. Does get the cast, so the ploy, does sort of work out anyway here.
What is this gonna catch?
All right, that's actually pretty good. We certainly
Wow.
wanted that more than the 35T, and we get our bomber kill. A big fighter is not fun, but we're not really worried about it too much as it obviously isn't trading for free like those bombers, so
Ben,
66 better finding a nice line here.
Ben, we're gonna see a huge strat bomb here for the credit denial. Even just
Yeah.
if it doesn't kill it by albacore. Slam it. Slam it.
Thinking about ramping in
Uh,
35T. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with this play as well. Obviously, the credit deny is nice, but there wouldn't be a ton of use in the 3 damage on the 2 beefy units. So this still allows you to ramp out and still make that credit gap worse for Morphling, but takes the same amount of board control, I would say. And you get to keep that strap on for later. Doesn't ramp though, just goes full board control.
that Bomber Mafia is not gonna see the light of day from Morphling if 66 has anything to say about it.
Kitty Hawk big here. 2 units that the Kitty Hawk can take out from solely its deployment effect, which is going to be pretty nice. Also, the Raft could throw back one of the infantries. And no, taking some face damage as well. Kind of going in between here, not committing to face, but also not committing to the board. Perhaps a strange play from Morphling. Yeah, he thought about that strat bomb, but immediately considered his Jaeger as well. But this will allow him to move infantry up and have 3 units in the front line for. Well, actually, makes a trade, but still the Blitzkrieg now.
Sea Embargo has no targets that it can do this turn because of that trade.
That'll help. Big Sherman, which is nice. we're gonna have to play for the Blitzkrieg next turn. So, well, and now we have to. Greyhound, amazing to hold while you're holding the Blitzkriegs. And yeah, he's gonna go death charges and say, I'm not worried.
I have charged my depths. Good luck, sea embargo. You can't torpedo me with my depth charges. And man, this was dominant. 66 better saying, Cornguy, I don't care about your narrative that you're crafting around Morphling. I'm here. I've been here. Who is this Morphling guy?
Yeah, certainly both players playing really great just to make it here, but continuing to really deliver in this final set. And as you said, Corn, Morphling, never going to feel the warmth of that bomber mafia. Never going to feel the... If he double Kriegs, he can attack with the Sherman, but it's not needed. Oh wait, yes he can, because -2 is 0. I again fail at very basic math, but a great Blitzkrieg win. 66 better, taking the lead and pushing Morphling to the brink.
So interesting. 66 better with this Jagro. He's gotta. The worst case scenario would be for him going second against a swordfish opening from Morphling. He has the tools to deal with that, but if he can go first against that and just get a turn 2 35T developed and just trade out all the planes, that would be ideal for what he wants here. Let's see what Morphling brings to challenge this Jagger list that he knows 66 has to bring.
And of course, this non-credit denied Jagger as well.
Morphling does get the first turn.
Yeah, a lot of sea embargoes and no planes. So, very quick switch up. And a type buff tank is not really what you want to see from your turn 1 from Jagger either. So, oh, and here's a really interesting play. That is actually a one-off, the 2/2 guard that Japan has access to. Not from the latest expansion, but from the one right before that. That is a KARDS 66 better runs just one of. Just that little splash of guard.
Wow. Not gonna the guard not being too big against these bombers, but Morphling's definitely has drawn dead a little here. Just not finding what he needs.
A signal going to be perhaps helpful, especially with Morphling on the back leg. Is going to have to make some trades. Those trades are now going to be punished.
This is not the start that either player would have wanted for, but 66 better, looking better.
But even this bomb raid is looking spicy. Instead, he's going to clear them with just some easy piecemeal removal.
Yeah, Japanese swordfish can draw off of expansion.
Very true.
Really what Morphling needs here is to get a ramp into a bomber mafia. That could really swing things for him here, but his hand does not look ideal.
That is the only Blitzkrieg in 66 Better's deck, in this Jagger deck. So interesting as well. He probably wants to draw that a little bit later, but he also probably feels a little comforted having it early. He would like some units right now, obviously, but his ability to burst and keep up with the kind of damage that Brit Air can output could be a big deal.
Real interesting play here. When he played the Lightning, he had the choice between the recon. No, not between the guard and the other infantry, the cavalry regiment, excuse me. And he you know, normally you would push back the one that has the operation cost, so they have to spend one to push it back up. But he chose to push back the cavalry because of his countermeasure destroying a blitz unit. And 66 didn't necessarily read into that and just pushed it right back up to its own demise.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. And a good ploy by Morphling. And Morphling also getting close to Bomber Raid. You know, next turn is Bomber Mafia time. A lot of low health units in Jagro, as is always the case. So that is going to loom pretty big.
Wow.
But just makes the trades. Yeah, all the way down to 9 health for Morphling because of how much work that signal is doing. Now faced with, does he blitzkrieg to kill the bomber?
Yikes, is not how you want to spend your blitzkrieg on a Saturday.
Your only blitzkrieg.
I think it's a smart decision here to
The
just
full end turned.
he saves it. You know, if he can get another blitz tank, he can put them both up there for lethal if Morphling doesn't frontline his Wellington. Will he
Maybe
frontline the Wellington?
Maybe throw a Cass in here. 2 Cass. 8 health. 7 health. Nope, just 7 damage. Right.
No, he doesn't frontline the Wellington.
And right into Blitz Doctrine, depending on what this first tank is. Oh, the
Oh,
SKD takes the 35T instead, as only 2 units. The SKD is only giving +1, so you might as well take the +1 on the unit. But yes, it does not matter when you have 2 Blitz tanks and a Blitzkrieg. And as you said, Corn, as you perfectly analyzed, the full pass, just play the single 1-cost bomber just as a distraction, the full pass, keep the hand of just tanks and Blitzkrieg and be ready to burst. And Morphling maybe thinking about next time, 7 damage, you know, when he has 20 health, doesn't do that much. Maybe you do throw that big old bomber in the front line and just buy some time.
Yeah, that was a great match to see. You know, could you frontline the Wellington? That would definitely stall. That you know, you are stuffing a 7/7 bomber that you would love to attack with, but you know, do you try to attack back? Do you play to win or do you play to not lose? He chose to play to win, and you know, unfortunately, didn't work out for him. You know,
And
you
that
could
was
have.
the only Blitzkrieg, you know? You're
Yeah,
maybe thinking he probably doesn't. He's got 30 cards left in his deck, 25 cards left in his deck. So odds are the Blitzkrieg is still in there.
but what else? He would have played the other cards. You know, you could have said he's saving this card. It could be a Blitzkrieg because it's a one-off in hand. Regardless, shout out to Morphling. Great performance. Congratulations, 66 better. You can go get yourself
Absolutely.
a watch.
66 better, your June Clash champion, with quite a march, going through Berto, J King, and Morphling. That is no small feat. That is a murderer's row of just absolute regulars. So really, really nice, huge win by 66 better. Is that I don't believe it's 66's first win. I believe he has an OCC title besides this one.
Yeah,
He definitely okay. He definitely has won this year, I believe. So at least a second title for 66, really cementing his name as someone that is not here for a dalliance. He's
like
here to play.
Say shout out, thank you to our lovely European crew, Spooz and Bubbles, for a great commentary on the other side. And I have gotten word, if anyone was still wondering, we did find Christo. He finally made it out of the bathroom.
Yeah, a little too late for the stream. So we'll
Yes.
get you next month, Christo. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you to 66 Better for a extremely valiant tournament victory. Should be extremely proud. And we will see you next month for the next OCC Clash.
3, 2, 1.